We'll have
Two old men talking about Beyonce. I don't think the audience are interested in that.
All right, okay. Just an idea. Come on.
We'll do it.
Rather than you saying, thank you, Lee, thank you, Greg, love you, bye, love you, see you tomorrow, bye.
All right, sunshine, you better get off.
All right, good luck.
All right, bye-bye. Take care of yourself. It's the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The PRO of the MICA Action Group has warned that there needs to be a change in government if the right redress scheme cannot be delivered. Michael Doherty says the government acted in bad faith by publishing the revised defective concrete blocks bill yesterday, the same version he says homeowners were shown last week when they were given promises their feedback would be added to an amended final version. On Thursday, a shortened form of pre-legislative scrutiny of the bill is expected to be brought forward. Michael Doherty says time is running out for the government to fix homes.
If they don't get it right this time, then we're going to have to do something different. And it's just the same as anything else. If you can't change the government and change their mind, then we've got to change the government and change the people and get people in there that'll take this thing seriously and get the job done. We will not be giving any more chances to this government.
Garda resources are further diminishing in West Donegal. This week it emerged that the patrol car in Fulcara has now reached end of life with no current plan to replace it. Meanwhile, Dunfanaghy has been without a car since October, which was also used to serve the Creeslaw area. In the event of an emergency, Garda cars will now have to travel from either Milford or Gweedore. Councillor Michael McClafferty says the lack of resources simply spells disaster.
This is a total lack of respect now for, first of all, in Garda Síochána and Donegal, then alongside that, then lack of respect as well for the community. And I've asked the superintendent about this many times. Everybody's passing the buck, and when it's at crunch point now, nobody wants to take responsibility. All I can see going forward is disaster, and it's a poor state as well as policing for the people in the area. 10 yards there at the moment, no patrol cars.
The Taoiseach doesn't believe the rationing of energy supplies will happen here. It follows remarks from the EU Commissioner Mairead McGuinness, who warned rationing could become a reality this winter. EU members could be left without fuel supplies as lawmakers look to reduce their dependence on Russian oil. However, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar doesn't think it will happen, saying Ireland does have energy reserves.
That would only arise, I think, where attempts were made at price controls, and they never work. When you bring in price caps, you either have to increase them all the time, which defeats the whole purpose, or you end up kind of rationing energy because there's a limit on supply, because the people who bring the fuel into the country just can't bring it in at the cost you've capped it at.
Weather now, a dull morning with scattered patches of drizzle and mist. Highest temperatures today of 17 or 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
There's a camera in your phone. There are almonds in your milk. There's even jam in your donut. Why should banking be any different? With An Post, your bank is in your post office. AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week for personal and business banking alike. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. An Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9. It's another Wednesday, the 22nd of June, 2022. Good morning, as I say. You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till noon show. We'll be running through the papers for you very shortly, but we're going to try and keep that short, or at least we'll have to interrupt it because we're hoping to have Minister Charlie McConalogue join us. He has moved his schedule around to make time for us on an important issue, and why shouldn't he? 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number, by the way, 07491 25,000. Give us a call. Donna Marie and Caroline, very friendly, waiting to speak to you, to tease your issues out if you wish before you even decide to come on air. You can watch the programme, hop onto our website, highlandradio.com. You can watch it in browser there, you should see the links to do so, or go straight to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or Facebook, If you want to see the captions there as well, and as we were hearing from Sean and others yesterday, some people find that useful, so that's a good thing, isn't it? All right, let's look at the papers then. Let's start with the Finn Valley Voice. COVID-19 storms back in Donegal. COVID-19 is back, and Donegal, along with most other counties, is feeling the heat. There are now 24 cases of COVID-19 at LUH, and COVID-19 has been a factor in at least 8 deaths across the county in the month of May. And while the rate of incidence in the Finn Valley remains one of the country's lowest at 123 recorded positive cases per 100k, the real figure could be higher. The Inish Times this morning, Micah campaigners say they are preparing to target government TDs in elections and picket their offices as the latest redress bill approaches a crucial stage. Campaigners say they have ruled nothing out in their effort to achieve a scheme that meets their demands and have expressed concern that the latest bill will still leave homeowners facing unacceptable costs. The $2.7 billion scheme was due to be published on Tuesday after being approved by Cabinet last week, and the bill is due to go before the Oireachtas Housing Committee on Thursday for accelerated pre-legislative scrutiny. Now, there's a few things we have to tease out on this. Firstly, this is the old document, bar the shouting, that was published some time ago. There was engagement with concerned interests. Of course, those engagements seem to have fallen on deaf ears. There's nothing in this document really. There's a lot in this document that ignores the concerns that homeowners might have. But we're being told that people are being told privately that, no, that document doesn't say it all, that this is included or that's included. You know, and we're going to try and get it to the bottom of it for you. I don't understand why the messaging is the way it is. In that, you know, if it's not if the scheme, do not publish the document unless that's the scheme. All right, because what it's doing is causing great anxiety to people. As I say, it may well be. It's something we're going to have to investigate with Minister Charlie McConalogue when he comes on with us. As I say, have your say as well. Donegal Post this morning, special events to remember Donna. A special memorial event takes place this Saturday in Donegal town to remember one of Donegal's GAA's greatest ladies football pioneers, the late Donna Boyle Nay Dunyan. The series of games will involve an afternoon of fun and a trip down memory lane in honour of a special lady. The games are set to take place at her beloved Tyrconnell Park, with the main event at 3 p.m. And hosted by the Four Masters Club. The native of Ardra, a 41-year-old teacher and mother of 2, sadly passed away back in February after long illness, during which she showed the same strength, determination and courage that she had so often displayed on the field of play. It sounds like it's going to be a fitting event in her memory. The Irish Independent today, less than a third of HSE workers have received the pandemic bonus worth up to €1,000 that was announced by government in January. Now, it was announced in January, but wasn't this first talked about in 2020, then announced in January, and still the majority have not received this. It's also been revealed that a circular has not yet been published that would allow the recognition payment to be made to workers in the private sector, including nursing homes, for their efforts. The latest official figures, dated last Friday, show 33,431 payments have been processed at a cost of $32.3 million. This represents roughly a third or fewer of the HSE staff who are likely to qualify. A HSE spokesperson said it is expected the number of eligible staff to be in excess of 100,000, but I think it may well be over a month ago where I heard someone from the HSE saying that they hope to have the majority sorted before the end of the week or before the end of that month, and still the feet are being dragged. The Irish Times tells us that the government has abandoned plans to postpone pay rises of up to 15% for top earning public servants amid fears over legal action and possible protests. Among those in line for rises of 10 to 15% are judges, hospital consultants and many senior public officials. The move affects some 4,000 public servants earning in excess of €150,000 and will apply from next week. So whilst we look forward to any little break we might get in the budget, this cohort of 4,000 earning over 150,000 will receive a 15% pay rise next week. But it's pay restoration, really. This is money that they lost around the time of the last recession. And also the vast majority of these are consultants working in our hospitals. So they are important people. Maybe if it has to go to someone better it go to they. It's expected, though, to provoke a strong backlash from opposition politicians and the public struggling with spiralling inflation and the general cost of living crisis. Last week, talks between trade unions and the government broke up when unions rejected an offer of a 5% pay increase over 2 years, but the government has drawn up plans to go back to the unions with an improved offer somewhere between the 5% and the 9% odd of inflation. Hopefully it is seen to be enough. The Irish Daily Mail tells us what we already know. We're gouged left, right and in the centre. Consumer prices in Ireland were among the most expensive in the EU last year, with the cost of goods and services a shocking 40% above the European average. So what does that mean? And it is quite clear, but let's slow it down just so we're very, very clear here. We are in a union, a European Union, so it's very easy to compare, lots of different countries in different ways. For us, just to live, the cost of the basics, food, insurance, mortgage interest rates, all the stuff that we cannot escape for the most part, it costs us 40% more than our European neighbours. Okay, so if they're paying $6,000, what we're paying $10,000. It's significant money. We're only behind Denmark for overall price levels in the bloc in 2021. New figures published by the European Commission show. But the public will be feeling the pinch even more this year, with inflation reaching a 40-year high of 8.3% last month. Consumer experts said Irish people have become conditioned to high prices and blamed high taxation rates for putting us out of step with Europe. So maybe that is we've a long way to go to close a 40% gap compared to our European neighbours, as I said. Right, we will return to look at the newspapers in a moment, but I want to welcome onto the programme now the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Donegal TD, Minister Charlie McConalogue. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning, Greg.
And I appreciate you arranging your schedule to permit this. Right, you've said on a number of occasions on this programme that foundations will be included in the scheme. The document published yesterday seemed to suggest otherwise. It says that only that foundations that aren't, not only are they not included, but if you actually went to change them yourselves, you could be put off the scheme. So wherein there lies the truth?
Yeah, so listen, thanks, and good to join with you, and it's good to get the opportunities to update people on where things are at. So last week, the draft general scheme of the bill came to Cabinet, and then yesterday, the final scheme, which will come before the Dáil and the Seanad, came to Cabinet. Obviously, the issue of foundations is really, really important. It's something I have been engaged with the Department of Housing and the Minister for Housing about on several occasions. Again, it was something I had engaged with the Department of Housing on in relation to the draft scheme, and that has been the final scheme that was updated and agreed at Cabinet yesterday, provides that or is changed from the previous week in that foundations are not or a house is not required to be built on the existing foundations. It is required to be built on the existing footprint, but not the existing foundations. And
so really why was that in the document yesterday then? Why wasn't that in the document yesterday?
So the document that was published yesterday by the Department of Housing was the general scheme from last week, not the bill that went that was approved by Cabinet yesterday. It was also after the Cabinet meeting last week, Greg. Then there would have been a briefing with the first thing that happened was a briefing with homeowner representatives, and then at the same time as that as well, that general scheme was provided to the Housing Committee and all the parties, political parties on the Housing Committee. The Housing Committee would have met and on the back of being provided with the general scheme, and then they would have decided to have the committee hearings tomorrow. And there's 8 hours of committee hearings tomorrow. But really importantly, in relation to how we approach this, obviously over the last number of months, as the testing has happened on homes, what was initially identified as being primarily a mica and a pyrite issue, other substances have evolved and have been identified in the testing that has happened in many homes that have been tested since that. That obviously has posed challenges, for example, in relation to pyrite and other substances. So what the government has done is commissioned the National Standards Authority of Ireland to provide the scientific and engineering advice around how those substances should be treated. And want to receive that as quickly as possible. But importantly then, the science will be followed on this. And as soon as the engineering advice and the science advice around those substances is available, that will inform the scheme, that will inform the standards that are being used, IS 465, which you'll have heard referred to on many occasions. And the legislation is based on IS 465. So as IS 465 is updated, the legislation updates. So listen, there's.
So are you saying that the foundations are included from day one of this revised scheme?
So basically, what the legislation provides for is that foundations can be included on the basis that the IS 465, if the IS 465 is amended to include that.
When will that be?
That will be based on the science and engineering advice, which isn't available yet. The National Standards Authority have been asked to do that as quickly as possible.
Okay, so but how long might that take?
They have indicated to the government that will be early 2023 before they have the full research and the full scientific evidence around that. And as soon as the government has that, that will be.
So how can this scheme progress this year, at all this year, or even early in next year, if we actually don't officially have foundations included yet?
So that's what's been discussed between Donegal County Council and the Department of Housing at the moment.
But the answer is it can't, really.
Well, where the issues are mica and pyrite, then there is evidence there as to how they can be dealt with. So, for example, if properties require demolition on the basis of mica and pyrite, that can happen, and that's provided for. But where there's other substances at play, obviously that's where the challenge comes in, and that's what has been the challenge over the last period of time in terms of getting decisions on properties.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be hard to imagine any home would be demolished this year, though.
Some homes have been demolished.
They have, but
already, and I mean that's where the engagement between the Donegal County Council and the Department of Housing is important, because what we need to do is try and move as many properties as possible through and get as many properties remediated as possible.
So will there be extra money made available for the foundations, or will they have to come from the €420,000 cap?
So as things stand, the scientific advice and the view of the housing engineers, etc., is that there isn't an issue with foundations. But if there is, and if that's established, the scheme will have to be updated to reflect that.
But you're telling me,
for that to happen as well.
You're telling me that really it's not that foundations are included in the scheme. You're telling me that if the scientific advice from the NSA comes back next year at the earliest, then they may be included in the scheme. This scheme will not be published, including foundations.
So the science will be followed in this, Greg, and we'll decide what happens. And obviously, at the moment, the criteria is around pyrite and mica. And the quicker we can get that science and that engineering advice,
but just
better.
Language is very important. This enhanced scheme from the off will not include foundations. Foundations will only be included if that's a recommendation of the NSAI.
What the legislation will do, and this will get a very thorough examination at the Housing Committee tomorrow, where there'll be 8 hours of discussion on it, and that will be very helpful. And what the legislation will do is establish the new.
But you were on the phone last night telling people foundations were included, weren't you? And really, they're not actually included.
What I'm saying, what I've said to anybody that called me last night is exactly what I've said to yourself here, Greg.
Right. Okay.
Exactly what I said to yourself. So what the legislation will do will be update the new caps based on the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland updated costings from March. That underpins the legislation, which is really important.
Just because I know you're short on time, will the cap be increased to account if foundations end up being included in this scheme? They're hardly going to have to come out of the 420,000 with everything else.
The legislation empowers the minister to change and update the caps as appropriate, and in terms of the as the costings involved emerges. So that's something that the bill...
So just to ask you, will the cap be increased? It already needs to be increased because of inflation. Will it be increased if foundations are included?
That's a decision the minister would have to make.
You call on him today to ensure that it's included?
Listen, as I've done at all times, I mean, my
But you see, the problem we have here, Minister, is the problem we have here right now is, that you're telling me that it's not actually, it doesn't actually include foundations yet. It may well do if the NSA say so. And you're also telling me that you don't even know really if extra money will be provided or if this will have to. So in other words, you know yourself, you're talking to me today about a scheme that is not a 100% redress scheme. That is not what we're discussing today.
So Greg,
we're discussing a reheated version of the 90-10 scheme, which itself wasn't a 90-10 scheme.
Certainly not, Greg. This is a scheme which is based on independent assessment of costings done by the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, which was requested by homeowners and was really important happened. That updated costing was published back in March. That's what this bill is based on, and those costings were broadly welcomed by homeowners and representatives at the time. So the bill is based on that. Obviously, it's key that we follow the science. Some of the evidence that's emerged around other substances over the last number of months, the scientific evidence isn't available to the government yet in relation to those. That is being got as quickly as it possibly
Listen,
can.
We're short on time, but you've said that. Okay, you've said that.
Let me finish.
So,
and that will then inform the scheme.
Okay.
So what this legislation does is it bases it on the updated costings. It puts that in place. It means that people are able to avail of that. It also requires and also provides for the science to be followed in relation to the remediation of houses, and as that science.
But we need the money. The money has to go with the science, right? How can this be called a 100% grant scheme with so many costs coming out of the allocation? The impact of inflation that it's having on costs that's not reflected currently in the square footage figures at the moment. Do you believe, especially if foundations have to come out of this money as well? Honestly, do you believe the majority will be able to return their home to its former state without having to find money themselves?
So listen, what the bill is based on is the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland costing based on March past, and it also provides then on an annual basis going forward that can be updated, and that's really important. This is going to be a scheme that's going to be around us for a long time. The bill, there's a legislative process involved here. The general scheme went to Cabinet last week. The updated the scheme that will go to the Dáil and Shannon, the final scheme, was in advance of going to the Dáil and Shannon. It went to the Cabinet yesterday. That will be published in the next few days. And what will happen tomorrow then is that the Housing Committee, who were provided with the scheme, the general scheme last week, as were the MICA representatives, they will discuss that tomorrow and their feedback to the government as well. So there's a legislative process here.
All right. Do you believe it's a 100% redress scheme, Charlie?
Well, what it is, Greg, is based on the rebuild value of a property as assessed by the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland. Obviously, it doesn't include the likes of garages. It doesn't include the likes of driveways.
But for the majority of people, with average size houses, do you believe that this is a 100% redress scheme? Hand on heart, do you believe it is? With foundations, engineers' costs, storage costs, accommodation costs, do you believe this is a 100% redress scheme for the majority of average people without garages, etc.? Do you believe it is?
Listen, what it is and is based on the Chartered Surveyors costing of this, Greg. I can't say whether that will mean for every family or not that it will cover all their costs. I know it doesn't cover the cost of garages, for example, the cost of driveways. The Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, who are the professional body for every industry group, have assessed what.
Can you vote for this then, with your own acknowledgement that this is not a 100% redress scheme? Do you think you can vote for this then?
So
against the people that elected you?
I'm working on behalf of the people that have elected me, Greg, as I've done at all times. I'm at the Cabinet table working with the Minister for Housing, other Cabinet colleagues, the party leaders, to make sure that we get a scheme in here which fully supports and properly supports homeowners. It's now got to the stage where it's at. There's more to go. I've worked hard at Cabinet level in terms of getting it in terms of the general scheme and in terms of the scheme that was approved yesterday.
Yeah.
So I've clarified to you the changes have been made, changes which I have been adamant on all along and remain adamant on, and those changes have been made in terms of the bill.
Just a couple more.
So the next steps now is it goes to the committee.
Yep.
It also goes to the Dáil and the Shannon, and it will get a lot more scrutiny as part of that, a lot more assessment.
All right.
And I will continue to do what I've done up until now in terms of getting to where it's at today.
You said we'd follow
over the next. Let me finish. In terms of the way I will continue to do over the next period of time, as I've done up until now, in terms of getting it to where it's at, to liaise within government to ensure that we get a scheme which properly and fully ensures that houses are fixed across the county and gets a scheme that works for homeowners. There's more way to go in this. There's a legislative process involved. Obviously, it's a very stressful time for homeowners. Obviously, the legislative process and social media weren't made to go hand in hand. But what I would say to people is that there's 8 hours of
but people have the power now. People have the power now,
yes.
thanks to social media, to try and influence these decisions and to call it out when people make commitments that aren't followed through on.
There's 8 hours of scrutiny of this bill tomorrow.
Okay. I just need 3 more minutes of scrutiny with you, if that's okay.
There'll be more scrutiny then in relation to...
Understood. But people want to know where you stand. How you said we'll follow the signs. How can we only fix outer leaves on any properties if we're following the signs?
Well, that's the challenge that's there at the moment in relation to getting decisions on some properties, because where this testing has identified other substances as at play other than mica and pyrite, and this has evolved over the last number of months, it's very challenging to make those decisions, and that's where the County Council and the Department of Housing are working and engaging in relation to the existing properties that have those substances in place to see where and how decisions can be made. It's really important we get that scientific and engineering advice as quickly as we can, because for a number of properties that will need to be there to make decisions which actually people can have confidence will stand the test of time, and that's the challenge that's there at the moment.
Okay.
And it's important we follow the science.
Right. It's logical. It's logical that people should be able to downsize their property to enable them to, as much as is possible, complete a home out of this grant. You've talked earlier about the house having to be built on the same footprint. Are you in favour of, will it happen that people will be able to downsize? So in other words, they can say, right, we can build a smaller house, but we might not have to borrow as much additional. Is that going to be in this new scheme? Should it be in this new scheme?
It's not in the legislation. It is something I've pushed for and advocated for, like with everything over the last while, to get as much as we possibly can.
Why is it being resisted, do you think?
Well, because the assessment is, and the view is within government, that the scheme that's in place, which is based on the surveyor's cost of rebuild, is to replace their property. What the homeowners are looking for, which is absolutely understandable, and something that I've advocated within government for, is that if you build a smaller home, that you get the remainder of the grant that you'd have been entitled to if you'd built a larger house with it, to use it on the property. That's an additional element of the scheme, which, as things stand, the government have considered. I've advocated.
But they're not going to do it, are they, Charlie?
The bill doesn't include that, and there isn't support in government for it. As I say,
right, okay.
It's something I've advocated on. I've advocated in all these things. It's got it to where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
There's more stages in the process left to be. I continue to fight on behalf of homeowners.
Okay, and lastly,
government, Greg, to do the very best I can to get the best possible outcome, and we'll continue to do that.
Would you vote for this legislation if these things that you're calling from aren't included?
I'll continue to fight within government to get changes and to get the best possible bill that we can. That's what I've done in terms of getting it to where it's at. I don't believe we'll get everything that we're looking for.
Will you support it, though?
So what I'll do is I'll continue to try and advocate on behalf of homeowners and get the best outcome possible.
But will you support it when it comes down to a vote?
And get a scheme delivered then, Greg, that actually can deliver for homeowners.
Will you vote for it?
I think we have come a massive way in relation to what's in place at the moment, and what I will be doing is working within government to achieve those changes.
Okay. Lastly,
like I've done here in relation to the foundations, like I've done in relation to other things.
Understood.
And to get a scheme which works for people across Donegal.
Finally, as you know, there's a legal company signing up homeowners with a view to taking action to bridge any shortfall and for other motivations. Is this new revised scheme designed to discourage that?
No, it's not. No, the government in its decisions have also made clear that it will pursue every avenue possible in relation to following through in relation to those who contributed to this, and in relation to cost recovery as well. The government have put in place a scheme, obviously, to help and to rebuild homes, but the government likewise will pursue any and every avenue it can legally as well in relation to this, and that's part of it to follow through here too.
And just to be clear, I'm asking questions that will come in after you're off air, and I want as much as is possible to get definitive answers from you. I hope you understand that.
Absolutely, Greg. And listen, what I say is, listen, this is obviously a very, very stressful situation for homeowners, mightily stressful.
Yeah. But you're not going to give up. You're not going to give up the whip on this issue.
I will continue to work with homeowners to get results for them.
You believe you can do it better within the party, the parliamentary party?
That's my job within government.
Understood.
I've been at the cabinet table doing it. I've explained to you today changes in the legislation that happened from last cabinet to this cabinet meeting. This is a scheme now which I believe can work. It needs further scrutiny. Now it will get further scrutiny, and I will use as a cabinet minister working on behalf of my county, every capacity and opportunity I have.
And could you rate one thing to go for me too, if it comes up in conversation, is the way this is being handled, a terrible emotional impact this is having on people. The way there are people that were probably just holding on by a string, and they saw that document yesterday, and it could just be enough to push people over the edge. This is everything to people, to a lot of people. It's everything to the whole family. The kids are involved in everything. So when you are handling it and releasing documents that don't necessarily tell the full story, I hope you know the potential impact this can have on people. I'm sure you do, Minister. I just hope your colleagues do.
I'm massively aware of that, and obviously I try to be as sensitive as possible in relation to how we engage in this. And that's really important. And outside of people's health, Greg, the biggest thing in their lives is their home. But there's a legislative process in terms of this bill was provided and briefed to the micro representatives first of all last week. At the same time as well, it was also provided. Excuse me. At the same time as well, it was also provided to the Housing Committee and the parties on the Housing Committee. And tomorrow the discussion will be framed around that. So I understand that's why the Department of Housing published the bill on their website yesterday, because that's what the Housing Committee will be discussing yesterday, and that's what all of the political parties and all in the Housing Committee would have had from last week. The updated and the final bill, which will go to the Oireachtas and Dáil, is going through its final framing as such in advance of being introduced to the Oireachtas and Dáil, and that will be published then in a few days' time when that's ready.
Right.
So listen, it's a necessary part of the legislative process, but everything everything is massively stressful. I'm very conscious of that, but I don't think whenever the Housing Committee are going to be discussing it tomorrow and discussing this, that's why I believe that it was put on their website yesterday.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Minister Charlie McConalogue there, and the key takeaway from me, it's what I heard from Leo Varadkar as he sat opposite me in this chair, and sort of in the absence of clarity from Minister Charlie McConalogue, it seems, is there a general acceptance that we're not talking about a 100% MICA redress scheme, defective block redress scheme, whatever might be causing these deficiencies at all? Is it really, has all of this been about trying to get closer to actually a proper 90-10 scheme, in inverted commas? Is that really what the last 2 or 3 years has been about?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Attention all pet lovers and owners. Gary's Pet World Letterkenny is open 7 days per week, offering the very best value on all pet foods, accessories, grooming and care products. Call in and let our staff help you spoil your pet today. You will be amazed by the range of product for all pets, with exceptional value on all leading brands. Alternatively, you can browse and buy online at petworld.ie, and we will deliver to your home.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Foy & Company are offering amazing discounts on a great selection of display sofas, with up to 50% off a range of 2-seater, 3-seater and corner sofas in a choice of colours and styles. If you're getting a new suite of furniture, don't miss the big display sofa clearance sale on now while stocks last at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, and online at foys.ie.
Is your current car ready for change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town. Choose from their Skoda range including the Fabia, Scala, Superb, Karoq, Kodiaq, Kamiq, Octavia and the all-new electric Enyaq. Now available for delivery. All fitted with the latest technology, Skoda Connect, with a whole new range of simply clever features. DMG Motors have made buying a new car affordable with finance available on all new vehicles. Test drive the new Skoda today. Call 97213996. Skoda, made for Donegal.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Talking to myself there with the wrong fader up. My apologies. Right, so caller says, I know a man whose health has just deteriorated so much as a result of his home having mica. He is elderly and alone. Is there anyone in this debacle who can help fight for his rights, as physically and mentally he can't do it right now? I hope we're all trying to do our bit. It's an awful, difficult situation. All right, let's get some reaction from the Micro Action Group. Its PRO is Michael Doherty. Michael, very little in that conversation I had with Charlie McConalogue, conscious that I'm not directly affected by this, that gave me any hope that this is actually A, 100% redress scheme, or B, a scheme that will meet the needs of those who will rely on it.
Yeah, I think it's important that people don't get carried away with what was going out last night. We saw it all over social media. I was taking phone calls last night after 11 o'clock on this. I had to ring Charlie myself to find out what the right story was, in case there was something that was brilliant news that didn't make its way to us, which would have been a little bit surprised at. But, the reality was, when we distilled it down, the two things that was being talked about and hyped up last night was foundations and downsizing. Let me take foundations first of all. We had last week, on the Tuesday 14th, in Sligo, and obviously it was the same document that was passed by Cabinet in Dublin on the same day, that if you took out your foundations, you're actually in breach of your grant, and you could invalidate your entire application. Okay, so that was a new law. We had never seen that before.
And the minister clarified that. In fairness, he says it's not that; it's about you have to build on the same footprint.
Yeah, but that's not. If you read the document, as page 33, it's in there. It says that you are in breach of your application if you remove the foundations. It didn't mention about having to move off the foundations. We knew that was a no-goer, but it was the first time that it was ever said and written in black and white that if you actually remove the foundations, even if you replace them at your own cost, you were in breach of the scheme, which was absolutely crazy. So that was the first thing. We said that needed to be ripped out of it. We told them that last Tuesday. We thought that they would at least have that done before they would publish this and put people under additional stress, which is why we didn't want to. We were going to publish it. They said, no, hold off. We have a few things to stick out here. Nothing changed. They just basically put the same document back out yesterday on the website as what we discussed in its raw form back last Tuesday. That included. So the bottom line for people today is to understand that the only difference that I got clarified from Charlie last night is that you wouldn't be in breach of your scheme if you took out and replaced the foundations at your own cost. Yeah. But it's at your own cost.
Well,
and it will not be part of the grant until NSEI review this, which is at least a year down the road. And even then, they may decide that they don't believe there's a case for foundations to be included. So as far as foundations is concerned, the only news that's different is that you're not in breach of your grant if you change.
So this scheme is this scheme, and even if they are included, if they are included, they may also have to come out of your cap. Right, that's correct. Right, yes. So which makes this for a lot of people. I'll tell you for a fact, I couldn't go on this scheme because I could not find the shortfall. I couldn't. So I understand where other people are. So this scheme then is destined to fail. Yeah.
Now, you see on the foundations, if it gets to the point, and our understanding was not in black and white grade, but I just want to be balanced on this, right? What we were told all along was if it got to the point that foundations were deemed to be part of the solution to homes, which they don't believe is included at the minute. But if NSAI came back and deemed it to be part of the necessary solution to remediate homes, it would then become an eligible cost, and then SESI would put together a figure for foundations as well. Yeah. It's not on
the only thing is Michael, the only thing at this point is that there's probably very few people that feel they can trust the word of whomever is making the decisions. And that's a huge leap of faith to sort of say, well, hopefully, Darragh O'Brien. Listen, there's a reshuffle coming. There's a reshuffle coming when Leo Varadkar takes over Taoiseach again, right? So Darragh O'Brien might very well just want to get this through. I did what I said I would do. We don't know what the attitude of the next minister might be or whoever is around them, okay? It's too much of a leap of faith for people who've been on this journey for as long as they've had to think that maybe, hopefully, that if the NSAI think foundations should be included, that the minister might be inclined to say, right, we need to relook at this and then ask others to, reevaluate building costs. I don't think anyone has that trust or faith anymore. And for a lot of people, as you know yourself, Michael, by the way, for a lot of people then today, they'll be listening to this and say, this is literally back to square one.
Yeah, it's no different. It's no different. And, at the end of the day, I don't think it's acceptable, even if a statement was made by Minister O'Brien that, we've taken this as far as we can, it's up to the next government. That's passing the baton over within government. This government have to, this time, get it right between them. And there's no such thing as I'll leave it to my partner to take it the next leg of the journey. No more legs of the journey. It has to be right this time. Now, and, this is where we're saying that as a change of government is required after this if they don't get it right. But I also want to mention the downsizing. This was also, again, I had people last night very excited that they now had an avenue for what they saw as a chance to afford to put up their house properly, albeit smaller, but without having to try to go to the bank with the new.
Well, the minister says, despite his protestations, that's off the table. The government have no interest in that.
That's not the impression was given last night, and there'll be people I'm sure will ring in the day to validate that. The impression given last night
by
was
whom?
that foundations were now included and that downsizing was allowed. Yes, of course, downsizing is allowed. It was always allowed, but you're only going to get the grant for the
Where did that
house.
come from, though? Sorry, Michael.
Sorry.
Where did the people heard from last night? From whom?
That was talking to Charlie McConalogue
Yeah,
directly.
but he said, I asked him clearly, because I knew that was going to be a big one. I asked him clearly, would downsizing be an option? And he said he's campaigned for it, but the government are not in favour of it.
Yes. Now, there were people ringing me last night. I'll not go no further to mention names other than there's a McMullen couple that went on social media afterwards again by the name of Doherty, the same as my own, and they were very clear that downsizing was now on the table and was something that they were going to be able to afford this time around. It's no more affordable than it was yesterday or any other day, because the only way of course you can downsize, but you're only going to get the grant then for the smaller house that you're downsizing to, which still leaves you short because it's not 100%.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course. I think I thought it was given, sorry, Michael, that when we're talking about downsizing, it means that you would get more value out of the cap if you were to build the house. If you were to build the house in its original form. Sorry, I thought I probably should have made that clear. Right.
So I just want to be very clear on. So say, for example, your current house size attracts a grant of 300,000, let's say, for argument's sake, right? And you say, I'm still 60,000 short. I don't have 60,000. So what I want to do is take that 300,000 and build the next size house down from that 300 will afford me to buy. Or to build. That's what we've been asking for, but that's not what happens. So if you go down to your lower house size and say, that's what I want to do, the 300,000 covers that, they'll say, oh, sorry, we're only giving you 250 for that, which means that you're 50,000 short this time on your smaller house. Right. It's crazy. So it should be. If that 300,000 was good enough to hand out in the first place, at least let the people go and use that 300,000 to build whatever size of house.
But there's no appetite in government for that. There's no appetite in government for that. Charlie McConalogue said that. I get you.
There's no good reason coming back as to why they won't allow that. That's not financial. That's not financial. There's no additional money involved, yet they'll not do it out of bloody mindedness. That's the only explanation for that one. That's the most cruel aspect of the whole thing. Somebody's prepared to compromise on their home size, and they'll still force them to go to the bank and look for more money that they cannot get.
Right, so we don't know if foundations are included at this point. We simply don't know that. We know that the downsizing option to get better value of the money made available to you, that is not going to be on the table. With just those two things in mind, not forgetting also the fact that with inflation and with other costs coming out of your grant, that for a lot of people, if not the majority, this is not a 100% redress scheme, and that's without even getting into the foundation. So at what point is the pin pulled that it's conceded that this process And you have to enter these processes, and it has to be done, and fair play to everyone that did. And the amount of work that you and the rest of the team have put into this is unbelievable, and I don't think people really get the full have the full picture of what you have been doing. But at what point do we say, right, we tried, and the pin is pulled, and it's time to move on to the next government?
I can tell you exactly the point, and that'll happen, Greg. There's a process taking place tomorrow that we have been working day and night on to get ready for. That's this compressed pre-legislative scrutiny. It gives us a one-day shot at it. This committee, this Joint Housing Committee, will hopefully put recommendations forward in our favour to the Minister. The Minister can consider them and decide to acknowledge and reject them, or acknowledge and accept them. Hopefully he accepts them. If he doesn't, we then work with the tabled amendments that'll come as this bill makes its way through the Dáil and through the Seanad. That will be discussed and voted upon then as well. Now, at the end of that process, which is the middle of July, with the summer recess, that's their deadline, after our attempt tomorrow and after our attempt to get amendments tabled and accepted through the floor of the Seanad and the Dáil, if at the end of that, in the middle of July, it comes along and the scheme is the same as the scheme is now and is not, as we called, right this time, that's the final point for this government. There is no handing of the baton over to anybody else. This government must go.
And can we be assured? Can we be assured then, if they did say, for instance, include downsizing, but they said, look, we'll know about the foundation sort of the start of next year, and you know as well as I do, start of next year is the middle of next year, could be the start of 2024. Does that have to be changed as well? Or are you prepared to accept accepting this deal on the promise that the NSA will look at this and may include foundations, and the Housing Minister may revise the scheme to up the amount of money available for foundations? There's I say, Michael, again, there's a lot of leaps of faith here, even if some of the other stuff is addressed. Are you prepared to take that leap of faith? When I say you, I mean the campaign. Yes. Well, what we've been doing in that situation, say, we know we can't put the gun to NSAI's head and say, give us an answer tomorrow. So if their timeline is a year's time, then we need an interim solution right now that plays on the safe side. That means that you play it safe. There is an intervention by the Minister at this stage to say, while we're waiting on approval from NSAI, we're going to play it safe and we're going to do the right thing. We're going to take out the foundations. We're going to test them. We're going to take out the foundations. We'll leave ourselves safe. And if in a year's time, NSAI have evidence to say, you know what, we didn't really need to do that, so be it. That's a small amount of money that's spent on foundations compared to houses that are built on bad foundations in a year's time. Let's play this safe until there's science that says less will do. And just one, I want to bring Ray in. I'm not sure if you want to listen to Ray. He was speaking to Charlie McConalogue last night, but I just want to ask one more question. Can houses progress this year until such time as we get these recommendations as it relates to foundations? We've talked in the past about, a two-track approach whereby the most need, those in most need, that they can progress on the scheme at the same time as investigating the issue as it relates to other problematic materials and foundations. Surely everything's stalled. Now, I wouldn't want my house tossed now and rebuilt on those foundations until I heard from the NSAI. So effectively, is this process stalled until at least the start of next year, in your view? It shouldn't be stalled. It should be allowed to progress, but it should be allowed to progress on the safe side. So, for example, the very easy answer right now is until the NSAI come back to say that foundations ought to be included, there should be an intervention by the Minister to say, we're going to play it safe. The safest thing you can do is take the foundations out anyway. And even if that's not an eligible cost right now, that should be a cost that's recoverable. We know, for example, we moved from the old scheme to the new scheme. The old scheme had a cap of 247,500. The new scheme is 420,000. That difference, we're told, will be made up in the new scheme for people that are out that extra money. This should be the same thing. Allow people now to take out the foundations, and if they're not prepared to cover the cost of it right now, that should be a recoverable cost at whatever time NSAI say, yes, the homeowners were right, the Minister was right, you are right to play it safe. And if, on the other hand, they turn around and say, you know what, science says actually the foundations will be okay, which I will eat my hat on, because there's enough of evidence from Connecticut, from everybody that has been involved in this in other countries and throughout Europe. Dr. Andreas Lehmann are saying you cannot, as you're playing with fire to leave on foundations, you've got to play it safe, you've got to take them out, and you've got to pay people for doing that. Ray, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Michael.
morning, Ray.
You're a bit confused, having had a conversation yourself with the Minister last night and what you heard today. What's at odds?
Greg, I got a phone call 10 to 8 last night. Me and my wife were upstairs, and my phone went and it wasn't silent. I didn't know. But I seen the phone call from Charlie McConalogue. Now, I don't know. I've been texting Charlie for maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, continuously regarding the photographs in my house, the way we're being left, every member, and the Micah situation. And I got a phone call last night. I returned the call and no answer. And then Charlie phoned me back. And every question I asked him was regarding, are we allowed to take out the foundation? Was number one. My wife's standing with me on speakerphone, and he says, yeah, you will be allowed to take out the foundation. And the next big question I asked him was about liquidating the house, taking it down to a smaller size of a house, and being able to still get the full grant. And he approved it. He turned around and he says, yeah, they're all going to be included in the new
Well, the second
draft.
one, in the second one, he said clearly today that that's what he's in favour of, but the government's not in favour of it, unless I misheard him. And on the first point, it's not quite as clear maybe as it was related to you last night, Ray, because we have to find out if that's what the NSA believe is the case, and we won't find that out until at least early next year. And then it will be in the gift of the Housing Minister to decide if the costings need to be increased to take account of that. So you've gone from a big high last night, presumably, right back to square one again. And I'm very sorry if I have any role to play in that. I really am, Ray.
No, not at all. Not at all. I turned around and actually had just seen a video on social media from Paddy Doherty. He was on holiday. So when I got this news through, I sent him a WhatsApp message, and he phoned me, and I told him, Paddy, Charlie McConalogue's just on, and he's saying exactly the opposite from what that draft said last week. He says that draft's been altered and changed now. And then I'd phoned Michael, but Michael was in the middle of a meeting, and Michael returned a call to me later on, and I told him the same thing, and Michael says to me, well, that's not what we've seen. The draft that we seen was the one that was produced last week, and today, what Charlie was saying on the phone is complete different to everything he told me and my wife last night. And I was kind of standing there, and I'd love to have been able to phone into him while he was on the phone to you and say, well, that's not what you told me last night. Because as far as I can see, Greg, every time you've got him on the phone, and I'm a human being, if you ask me a question, yes or no, I'm going to answer the question to the best of my ability. You're on there to represent the people of this county, and you have to stand up, and you have to look what everybody has gone through now, and they're torturing us.
All right,
and I'm telling you now, I'm at my what's end with it, and I think that government have to be removed, because people's mental torture is going through the roof, and nobody's going to be able to take much more of it. And I don't care. And my own sanity, I'm in a house with 3 young children, and I've got no house insurance, and I'm not allowed to be insured by the insurance now because the house is uninsurable, and they're telling me then if I got it built again, what's the foundations? They're not going to insure me again anyway. Yeah. Where are you? You're in a catch-22. We've got people running this country that are muppets. They're running the country, and they're getting people below them that are so-called educated people. And I'm telling you now, they're more sense than my dog down in the house than there is in them people.
Right,
because every scheme they're coming out with has got another trap on it and another hook to try and catch you and make you fall behind again.
Well, Ray, listen, try and stay as strong as you can. I know how difficult it is. We're all in this together, literally. We're fighting this together.
I'm emotional too.
I know,
Greg,
but it's not done.
Right,
it's not done yet, Ray. Just look after yourself, right? And let's see where we're at once we're going through this process. Because I'm trying to get answers on the record to help, and I don't want to be doing the opposite either, Ray. But anyway, listen. You're doing fantastic as it is. Keep going, and we'll see where we end up once we come to the end of this process.
Greg, I'd just like to say before I leave to you, a big thank you to Michael Doherty and the Micah Group and Paddy Doherty, because without them we wouldn't even be where we are today.
Yeah. All right. Good man, Ray. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Look
Bye.
after yourself.
Yeah, Greg, just if I can come in there, I think that's why this was important this morning. And it was Ray I was referring to there when I talked about, one of the phone calls, one of about half a dozen phone calls last night. And I think it's important at least that we're honest with people. That's what we have tried to do all along. It may not be great news, but when Ray told me, and with the level of excitement that was in his voice, it was galling to have to say to him, Ray, I just wouldn't get excited yet because this doesn't smell right based on what I know of what's happening so far. Which is why, and in fairness, Charlie did. I messaged Charlie. I sent on the message that Ray sent me. I sent it on to Charlie and I said, is this right? This is not my understanding. And he did phone back. But then, it was the clarity, and it was, again, with the knowledge that I have of it, just being as long, unfortunately, involved as I have been, that I was able to ask a second and third questions that exposed the flaws. And the flaws being the foundations are really nothing different until NSAI come back. Downsizing, you could always do downsizing, but they're only going to give you the money for the smaller house. That was the devil in the detail that really scuppered the dreams that Ray had based on what he was led to believe last night.
I just hope they start factoring in the human element of this, because it's the damage it's causing. And Ray, you can tell, is as strong as an ox, but even he is wondering how much more of this messing around can he take and can others take, and not everyone's motivated to ring in or has the strength to do so like he did. And that's the point I was trying to emphasise to Charlie as I left. I just hope the way they're handling this, they understand the implications this have on real people, because the same people we're talking about, Michael, are the same ones that are facing paying an absolute fortune for coal in a house that's hard to heat. The same with oil heating, going to work, and you know yourself, paying $2.30, $2.20, could be $2.50 soon for petrol and diesel. They're facing all the other recessionary feeling problems that we all are, and you know this better than anyone, Michael. I'm not talking to you about that. You know what I mean? And then they don't even have the security of, well, at least we can pay the mortgage, we've got somewhere to live. They don't even have that security, and it's just, it is heartbreaking. Michael, thanks for your time this morning.
I'm afraid, Greg, the only thing I would say, what you're saying, we would love to think is what's happening. What we're sensing is the complete opposite. If we read that document again, they've actually gone the other way. They're saying now that there would be, if anything is falsified, or if there's anything found there within that application that's falsified, that you have penalties of up to €50,000 thrown off the scheme, recovery of any grant monies paid, or up to 5 years imprisonment. That's the sort of language that's been used by this government when people are at their wits' end, the same as Ray and the rest of us, to try and get this thing right. We're then being faced with that sort of language that's there. And that this government has absolutely no part to play, I think, going forward, and anything here to do with our people.
And let's
people
just
absolutely
clarify,
abandoned here.
If the NSAI take 2022 and in January or February or March of 2023 say that in their opinion, balancing everything up, that the foundations are okay, that's that. The foundations are not included.
That's correct.
All right then. Listen, thanks, Michael. I appreciate your time this morning. That's Michael Doherty, PRO of the Micro Action Group. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Give us a call if you want. 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Donegal County Council, in association with Bryson Recycling, are holding a half-price bulky goods event at Carrendona, Milford and Stranora Recycling Centres from the 20th of June to the 2nd of July, during site opening times. For more information and opening times, visit donegalcoco.ie or call the Council on 074 9153 900.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade-in service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 912676.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and not to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
On the 17th of June, we have the all-new Nissan Ariya in the showroom for one day only. Make sure to call in and see what you've been waiting for all these years. The ultimate electric car to enter the market, now taking orders at iMotors, Letterkenny and Malin.
Live music returns to Lifford Old Courthouse this Saturday the 25th of June for a showcase of local talent. Join Farmer Hart, Amy Meehan, Nicky Duffy, Lynn Campbell and Paul Hannigan for an unforgettable night of music in a unique setting. Tickets on sale now at LiffordOldCourthouse.com.
You know, it's hard not to be cynical. I mean, how, if you were strategising, do you kick this down the road to get it out past the October budget? The country might well be in a much difficult financial state. It'll be harder to sort of garner support for campaigns potentially like the Defective Blocks one. How do you kick that can down the road? Will you say, foundations, okay, let the NSA decide it, and that's 2022 out the window effectively, perhaps even much of 2023 if they say, look, we need to do some more reports here. This is a multi-billion euro project. We need to just make absolutely sure, throw it on to the next government's lap. You know, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but if you were to strategize how to make this go away for the rest of this year so you can have your summer recess and you can focus on October's budget, that's probably how you would do it. Anyway, okay, we're going to take a break because we've got the news and obituary notices, and I have it's hundreds of messages that have come in over the course of the last hour. And I understand that maybe, you know, not everyone listening is directly affected by the Defective Block scheme. But if you're not, please don't tune out because this is your money as well that's being spent on this. And the whole motivation around this is, of course, to get people back into safe homes because they're losing the homes through no fault of their own, but also to make sure that the money, our hard-earned money, is spent correctly in doing so. Right, we'll be back with the next hour after these.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Minister Charlie McConalogue says it will be early next year before the inclusion of foundations in the enhanced micro redress scheme is confirmed. He says houses are not required to be built on the existing foundations of a property, but rather the footprint. The National Standards Authority of Ireland has been tasked to provide scientific and engineering advice on the presence of other materials identified in homes. Minister McConalogue told today's 9 till noon show that this evidence will shape how the substances should be treated and subsequently impact change in legislation which could include foundations.
What the legislation provides for is that foundations can be included on the basis that the IS 465, if the IS 465 is amended to include that. That would be based on the science and engineering advice which isn't available yet. The National Standards Authority have been asked to do that.
Well, the PRO of the MICA Action Group has warned that there needs to be a change in government if the right redress scheme cannot be delivered. Michael Doherty says the government acted in bad faith by publishing the revised Defective Concrete Blocks Bill yesterday, the same version he says homeowners were shown last week when they were given promises their feedback would be added to an amended final version. Tomorrow, a shortened form of pre-legislative scrutiny of the bill is due to get underway. Michael Doherty says time is running out for the government to fix homes.
If they don't get it right this time, then we're going to have to do something different. And it's just the same as anything else. If you can't change the government and change their mind, then we've got to change the government and change the people and get people in there that'll take this thing seriously and get the job done. We will not be giving any more chances to this government.
Garda resources are further diminishing in West Donegal. This week it emerged that the patrol car in Fulcara has now reached end of life with no current plan to replace it. Meanwhile, Dunfanaghy has been without a car since October, which was also used to serve the Creeslaw area. In the event of an emergency, Garda cars will now have to travel from either Milford or Gweedore. Councillor Michael McClafferty says the lack of resources simply spells disaster.
This is a total lack of respect now for, first of all, in Garda Síochána and Donegal, then alongside that, then lack of respect as well for the community. And I've asked the superintendent about this many times. Everybody's passing the buck, and when it's at crunch point now, nobody wants to take responsibility. all I can see going forward is disaster, and it's a poor state as well as policing for the people in the area. 10 yards there at the moment, no patrol cars.
Milk found at the house of a couple whose bodies were discovered in Tipperary has indicated they could have died in late 2020. The bodies of 89-year-old wife Hilary are now believed to have gone undiscovered for more than 18 months. Gardaí are looking to speak with the last person they were in contact with in the hopes of establishing a concrete timeline. Southern correspondent with the Irish Independent, Ralph Regal, says it's also hoped a toxicology report will provide more clarity.
We understand that the post-mortems have been inconclusive and that toxicology and laboratory results are going to be critical. It now looks as if the couple may have been dead inside the house for up to 18 months, and that's another focus of the Garda investigation to try and determine when was the last time that anyone had contact with this couple and roughly when did they pass away.
The Taoiseach doesn't believe the rationing of energy supplies in Ireland will happen. It follows remarks from the EU Commissioner Mairead McGuinness, who warned rationing could be a reality this winter. EU members could be left without fuel supplies as lawmakers look to reduce their dependence on Russian oil. However, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar doesn't think it will happen, saying Ireland does have energy reserves.
That would only arise, I think, where attempts were made at price controls, and they never work. When you bring in price caps, you either have to increase them all the time, which defeats the whole purpose, or you end up kind of rationing energy because there's a limit on supply, because the people who bring the fuel into the country just can't bring it in at the cost you've capped it at.
Investigations are underway into a large fire in the waterside area of Derry last night. The blaze at the site of a number of unfinished houses at Dunfield Terrace was reported at around 8:10. Inspector Swanson says there are no reports of any injuries. However, if not for the work of the fire service, the outcome could have been different for residents in the immediate area and their homes. Police are appealing to anyone who was in the area from around 8 o'clock and saw any suspicious behaviour or has information which could assist with inquiries is asked to come forward. Weather now, a dull morning with scattered patches of drizzle and mist. Highest temperatures today of 17 or 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Obituary notices for Wednesday morning, June 22nd. The death has occurred of Thomas McLean, Dewish, Balbafay. Remains reposing at his late residence from 7 p.m. this evening. Funeral leaving his late residence at 10:20 a.m. on Friday morning for a Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in the Drumbow Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. The house is strictly private to family only, please. The death has occurred of Catherine Kate Mary McCulgan, née O'Sullivan, Quincy, Massachusetts, and formerly of Bantry, County Cork, wife of Gabriel McCulgan, formerly of Ishkaheen, Muff. Her remains will be reposing in Coakley Funeral Home, Bantry, on Tuesday evening, June 28th, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Requiem Mass on Wednesday, June 29th, at 12 noon, in St Finbarr's Church, Bantry, followed by interment in Abbey Cemetery, Bantry. The death has taken place of Padraig McLaughlin, Mina Cuan, Gweedore. His remains are reposing at his daughter Mary's home in Mean Derry Gamph, Gweedore. Rosary tonight at 8 p.m. House private from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. with interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Doherty, Funeral Director Facebook page. The death has taken place of James Harley of Canada, formerly of Glendowen, Churchill. A funeral mass will be held in St Joseph's Catholic Church in Sarnia today. James's ashes will be brought home and a memorial service will be held at a later date. The death has taken place of Bridget Devlin, Mickey John, Gord Fad, Clonmany. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m. going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for a Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with burial afterwards in the new cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Coronary Care, Letterkenny University Hospital and St Columkill Village, care of any family member or Comsky funeral directors. House private please from 10 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family and neighbours only please. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on www.churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Patience Louise Riley of 8 Dr. McCluskey Crescent, Glenties, and formerly of Drumnalla and USA. Her remains will repose at Shovelin's Funeral Home, Sandfield, Ardra, this evening between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Funeral cortege departs Shovelin's at 12 noon tomorrow for funeral service at Church of Ireland, Lettermacoward, County Donegal at 1 p.m. The service can be viewed live on Shovelin's Funeral Home Facebook page. In lieu of flowers, donations please to Patience's charity of choice, the Hunger Project. The death has occurred of Vida White, Tully Gay, Letterkenny. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Wake private to family and close friends only please. Funeral service this afternoon at 2 p.m. in Conwall Parish Church with interment afterwards in the family plot in Gortley Cemetery. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Thank you to all of you who've made contact with the programme so far today. I will be reading and going through those comments with you over the course of the next couple of hours. As you can imagine, a lot of people getting involved in the conversation. Thank you so much for that. As I say, I'll be getting to them shortly. I just want to mention, though, before I do, it's a family fun day. It's new and vintage auto show, Cars and Tractors. It's on Sunday the 26th of June, so this coming Sunday. Everyone's welcome, spot prices on the day, entertainment by Paul McCahill. So where is it? It's behind the Clanry Hotel at 1 p.m. On Sunday the 26th of June. So a really good set and plenty of parking. All proceeds go to the Irish Wheelchair Association. We've got 2 contact numbers here for Desi and Michael if you want further information on that. And just a reminder for you that if you want to get involved in our bingo game here at Highland Radio, you can pick your books up at any stage and play. It's €1 a day, €5 for the week. Play for fun, of course, and it's much fun for someone, hopefully this week, because the jackpot has reached €8,000, which is great. Our daily prize winners, recent winners, by the way, this isn't all of them. €700. A book was sold in Bradley's Farm, €700 in Rafo in Barclays in Rafo, beg your pardon. Clark's in Letterkenny sold a book that won €400. Carberry's Cockhill, another book, won €400 there. Hawkins Muff, they sold a book that won €400. So the daily prize is €400. That's just the starting point, and it goes up by €200 each weekday, if not one. And already there you can see over €2.5, close on €3,000 in daily prizes given away recently, and we have that €8,000 jackpot. Just to let you know, really, the reason why we do it, while we're involved as well, is to support the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, and you do so in raising tens of thousands of euro for them. And we're told that money is spent locally here, NCBI services here in the Northwest. Okay, good luck if you're playing. Here are the numbers to facilitate you doing so today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday the 22nd of June. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 25. The numbers are 8, 78, 44, 82, 25, 18, 9, 81, 64, and finally 33. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work. Great life. Great people. Where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Our McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ourmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. Our McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
For big name menswear at great prices, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top casual brands including Mishmash, Sixth Sense, Tommy Bow and Penguin. If you're going to a wedding or a big event, formal wear names include Rimassimo, Andre and White Label. Also a great selection of children's casual and formal wear in stock. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
Gajimmer a Tarship column Ferreter and Shaw. Biggie Lenihe Kid in Ye Sharkaji Huck the Clog, Niraves, Catherine Ni Whelan, Kjoltur Ahanta, and Makudgerta, Agazi, Eksholu, Duludeska Urseki. Rulia Bulia Ihi Kidin, Sharkaji Huck, Biggie Lin.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme, and into studio we welcome Jerry Hone, Regional Chief Officer for Tusla West Northwest. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us, Jerry. It's good to have you in with us.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Thanks for inviting me in.
Right, we're speaking in the context of a six-fold increase in the number of children admitted to care in Donegal over the past 5 years by Tusla using voluntary care orders. A total of 226 children were in care in Donegal at the end of last year. The state's dedicated child and family agency responsible for improving well-being and outcomes for children has said the total number of children in care under a voluntary agreement in Donegal stood at 41 at the end of 2021. Those figures, I believe, are correct, aren't they? Yes?
Yes, those figures are correct, Greg, and I think it's important to see those figures in the context of the actual full numbers of children in care in the county. And if you go back even 5 years, you were talking about 214 children at that point. We reached a peak last year of 226. As we speak today, there's 218 children in care now. And actually the general trajectory of children in care is actually on the downward spiral. What has happened in terms of the use of voluntary care, there's certainly an increase there, and there was an increase last year. And I suppose the important thing to ask is, what is voluntary care? Well, voluntary care is actually when parents or carers agree with us that their child needs to be in care for a period of time in order to help keep their child safe, and in order to actually allow us to work with the family to allow the child to go back again and put services in place.
Yeah, so the breakdown then of children in care in Donegal and those in care through a voluntary agreement then, just so I'm clear on those figures.
Yeah, you've mentioned the figures there, and like if you go through, so
it's 226 in total, of which 41 are in care through a voluntary.
That's correct.
Agreement.
And Greg, when we get involved with a family in terms, we've received a referral about a concern about a child. We've got an intake team that actually goes through those concerns, make sure the evidence is there to support those concerns, and we will work with the family then to develop a network. So we'll work with them, will work with their relatives, will work with other supports that they identify and create a plan with them to help keep their child safe. That is that's where we put most of our efforts into actually working with families. Now, over time, when some children cannot be kept safe, and that is when we get into discussions about the need for children to come into care, because the level of harm that they're experiencing is not acceptable. And so we will then seek agreement from the family to actually identify a family member in the first instance where the child can actually stay. That's least disruptive for the child. It's with someone that they know. It avoids the courts, which can be very litigious, and you can enter into battle. So it's much more work.
So of the 226, many of those children might be with relations, but not their actual parent or parents.
Yes, they could be with relations. The majority of relative foster carers, or of relative carers, or voluntary care orders, are with foster carers, or with general foster carers. Yes, some are with relatives, and we try and set up that when we can, and that often works very well for the child, but often it's not possible within the family network. Yeah. It's a big thing to take on a relative's child. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to have precise statistics in relation to this, but every year children will come under the care of Tusla in Donegal, and you're saying the figure is steady or a downward trajectory. So what normally happens to children who are no longer in care? Do they come of age where they're no longer under the under the umbrella of Tusla?
Sure. Are
they returned to their families, or are they moved outside of Donegal? How do the outbound children versus the inbound?
So any child who comes into care, Greg, the first and foremost thing that we try and do is reunite the child with their carers. That's the most important thing. And every year a child has a child in care review where the plan is reviewed for that child. And every year we ask, is it possible for the child to go home? That's the first question that's asked. And those meetings are chaired independently, so we actually get a good independent assessment of that. The other thing, though, that's very important, and it's the question about what works best for children and young people in general. So what works best for young people is that they're in a secure, safe, predictable environment. And where that cannot be provided by carers, then yes, there are a cohort of children who end up in long-term care. And Tusla at the moment are working very hard around looking at the permanency pathways for young people where they can feel most secure and most safe and can actually reach their potential within that permanency, whatever route that is. And that route can be staying with a relative, that route can be going home, that can be voluntary care with foster carers, or can be long-term care with foster carers. And so there are many different pathways, but the most important thing is which is best for the child and what helps them develop to their potential. Now, when a child reaches 18 and they become a young adult, in fact, when they're hitting 16 and they're likely to be in care still when they're 18, we have a leaving and aftercare service that actually works with the young people that helps to transition them into young adulthood. There's actually supports available right up to the age of 23 that will actually support people through third level education. It has funding attached to it in terms of if those young people are in a foster placement, it's natural for them to continue that foster placement beyond their 18th birthday. That happens as well, and then they're supported in the transition through to independent living.
I was speaking to one of our listeners. It never made air. It was just private contact because they were struggling. They felt they were struggling as they had. I think it was 2 children with additional needs. They couldn't get the support that they needed from the state, from government, and they felt that they weren't able to cope. And I don't know how it turned out, but my understanding is they said they were going to seek a voluntary agreement with Tusla because they simply couldn't cope on their own and they weren't getting the support that they needed from the HSE. How common is that in Donegal?
I mean, We do come across situations, and especially during COVID, when we all know the effects of COVID and the devastating impact that had. And if you had families with children who had special needs, they struggled even more during COVID because the services that they required actually weren't accessible because of COVID. So you had a lot of families struggling very much at home. So we actually we have meetings where we meet with the HSE, and we have a joint protocol with them, and we talk about these cases where there are young people with special needs, parents are struggling, they're not getting the services that they require, and ultimately there's a risk of those placements breaking down, like the example you've mentioned, and children coming into care. Now, during COVID, we actually spoke with the HSE about a cohort of those cases. We engaged the services of the Blue Stack Foundation down in County Donegal, who we fund to provide services into families with special needs, and we were delivering out packs for young people with special needs during COVID via the Blue Stack Foundation. They're a fantastic organisation in South Donegal, and I'm sure you're aware of them. Mm-hmm. And basically, what we managed to do with our colleagues in the HSE was actually come up with a respite package for a cohort of families that were actually struggling. But there is no doubt that access to services is an issue for a lot of
Is it uncommon
people.
Or regular that this might happen?
I think it's fairly common that families experience difficulty in accessing services.
Could you determine, say, for instance, of the 226 children in care, what proportion of those could be because the families felt they didn't have the supports to be able to care for those children themselves?
It's actually a very small proportion.
That's okay. That was the question.
It's a very small proportion.
It's uncommon, but it does happen.
Yeah, and what we need to understand there, the reason for children being in care in Donegal, and the main reasons for that, haven't actually changed over 5 years, and that's really about, that's related to substance misuse, mainly alcohol addiction, and related problems around domestic violence.
Is the pathway for a child to be returned to their mother or father or both, does it need working on? Does it work very well? You would know there's very vocal people around the country, very active campaigns that feel that, children can be too quick to be taken off parents, and parents can find themselves completely cut out of their lives. And it could be another person in the child's life that they might feel they're misrepresenting them, and it's very complex. It's complex. There's just no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
But does Tusla do this work good enough to, as you say, get children back when it's a safe environment with their mum or dad or both?
I think, Greg, we have a practice model that we use working with families that's called Signs of Safety. That is very much a strengths-based model in working with families, and we start with their strengths. We don't start with their weaknesses. So we actually look at what's strong, what's good, what can we build on within the family to allow children to stay with their families. When we want to take a child into care and the parents don't agree, that case ends up in the courts. And then you get a guardian ad litem appointed by the courts as an independent.
But of course, in that scenario, it's going to be Tusla's word versus the parents, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we know which way a judge is most likely to come down there.
But what we get into, Greg, we have a care plan for every young person in care. Mm-hmm. And if our care plan is long-term care, we have to convince the courts, and our care plans are tested to the nth degree, and particularly by the guardian ad litem, who also has legal representation, and rightfully so. Our plans are tested. We're asked all the questions. We're recommending a very serious thing in taking a child away from their carers. It's about the most draconian thing you can actually do, but we're doing it for the safety, welfare of that child who otherwise is going to actually suffer significant harm, and that's what we do it. But the courts have the ultimate say in that matter, and they do test us. And if you speak to my social workers in Donegal or across the West, what they'll say to you in terms of the thing that they find the toughest in their job, the toughest situation, is being cross-examined in court and being tested in terms of what they're planning. That's right, though, Greg. It should be like that.
Do all the children in Donegal under Tusla's care that require a designated social worker, do they have access to one?
Yes. What we've struggled with more recently, Greg, is the recruitment of social workers. So as we currently speak nationally, there is not enough social workers coming out of the universities to actually fill all the vacancies that we have.
But in terms of a child's welfare, you've seen how we can react when we need to.
Absolutely.
There should be no gap here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And there should be a consistency there where possible as well.
Absolutely. And when if we have cases that are unallocated, we actually use, if we haven't a social worker, we'll use a social care worker to go out and visit that child, maintain the relationship, make sure everything is
But there are going to be parents listening who will know that the child hasn't had no access to a social worker for a long time.
Yeah, I think, Greg, even when a child is unallocated in the system, it doesn't mean that we do not have contact with that child.
But do you understand where I'm coming from? Your organisation is charged with protecting children and caring for children in the absence of that care being provided from at home.
Absolutely.
Now, maintaining and supporting their emotional and psychological well-being would be I would have imagined, a fundamental part of that care.
Yeah, absolutely. And
in some cases, you're actually failing in that regard.
I think, Greg, when we've got children in the care system,
yes.
As I explained, we've got care plans for those children. That identifies all of their needs. And remember, these young people are in the care of, most of them in the care of very experienced foster carers.
I know, I do this with politicians, Jerry, and I really don't want to do it with you where we run around and give different answers to different questions. I'm asking you clearly, there is a problem where some children have not yet been allocated a social worker. Many have their social worker changing on a regular basis. It's kind of can be a little bit patchworky.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
that needs to be fixed. There's no. I don't think there's any way to talk out of that situation.
And absolutely, that needs to be fixed.
And we rely on you to care for these children when they can't get that care at home.
Absolutely.
So what needs to be done to fix that, Jerry?
And nationally, we need to make sure that we're working with universities, that we're actually got a recruitment and retention policy for social workers that makes sure that we have enough numbers coming through to actually fulfill the tasks that are required. So we need to do that. And we have a recruitment policy at the moment that's working very hard with universities, that's working hard with the local universities.
Yeah.
In Donegal, Greg, we offer, all the graduates this year coming out of colleges on social work have been offered a contract by Tusla to come in and work to address the deficits that are there. And we're working closely with staff groups, with social workers.
I mean, are you competitive with, other sectors that are putting also in offers for these social workers?
Absolutely. We're very competitive with them. And
how obviously, as you say, there's a figure there. It's hopefully a downward trend.
Yeah.
That's the cases that we're catching, if you know what I mean. Not cases, but the situations we're catching. How are we doing so, and what could we be doing more in terms of making sure that children that need our care or help are getting it?
Yeah. It's very important at the outset, Greg. If you look at our referral rates in terms of Donegal and what comes into us, we've increased this year to about 41 referrals per week, which was about 35 last year, and a bit lower the year before that. So referral numbers are going up. That to me is a good sign that the reports are increasing.
Is there a bit of post-COVID catch-up though, where things weren't being spotted because schools weren't running, for example?
Absolutely, there's a bit of that going on.
GPs maybe, are they're not being able to see signs in their surgery because they're doing it over the telephone.
Absolutely, and that was always a concern during COVID that was going on. But our referral rates are now back and they're higher than what they were before. So it's very important that anybody who's got a welfare concern about a child that they report it in. There is the Tusla website, tusla.ie, that explains to everybody very clearly how to actually make a report. Our biggest referral agent is the Gardaí, and that's because they're out and about in the community, and they're reporting stuff through.
But they catch it arguably very late.
Well, it depends.
I mean, I imagine, you know, we know the path of domestic abuse, for example, how it can accelerate. And by the time the guards get to a scene, you just wonder what might have happened beforehand. But listen, it's not one size fits all. But
and there's a range of situations that they report to us that can be, you know, some families can already be in crisis. Sometimes it's early on. The important thing is that there's a response. We assess it, and we find those children who are actually, you know, suffering harm and need the supports, and we work with those families to give the supports that we can to help them stay at home.
Okay, Jerry, unless there's anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned children in care, Greg, I think I couldn't sit here and not talk about the foster carers who care for these children. And one of the things we struggle with, in addition to, you know, the staff and problems that we have at the moment, is recruitment of foster carers. And I would encourage people out there in the community, you know, we need foster carers. We need people to care for these children. They need loving, happy homes. And I'd encourage you to make inquiries if you're thinking about fostering. And the number you can phone there is 074 912 3701. And we talked about reporting concerns into Tusla. There's a method for doing that on tusla.ie, but you can also contact our intake service, and that's a team dedicated to taking referrals in, and their number is 074 912 3672. And it's very important that people report any concerns that they have for the sake of our children.
Yeah, okay. Listen, thank you very much for your time this morning, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you.
That's Jerry Hone there. He's Regional Chief Officer for Tusla West Northwest, and we're back with more shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At AIB, we know how difficult finding the right home can be. The searching, bidding and time that lives behind every sale agreed sign. But when you finally do find the right home, AIB can make the mortgage part easier. With our online mortgage tool, you can manage your application online. Find out more at AIB.ie. AIB, we back belief. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks plc is an authorised agent and servicer of AIB Mortgage Bank UC in relation to the origination and servicing of mortgage loans and mortgages. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Mortgage Bank UC are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
I've great news for everyone who's looking for a good night's sleep. Restex Beds are looking forward to welcoming you to their brand new showroom at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. It's one of the biggest and best bed and mattress showrooms in the Northwest and has fantastic opening offers now in store. Restex is the most trusted name in beds and mattresses in the Northwest. Why don't you call in and get the bed of your dreams at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Donegal Vintage Club are having a tractor and vintage and classic car run this Sunday, the 26th in Ramelton. €20 per tractor or car, with registration at 12 noon at the quay, followed by refreshments. Proceeds in aid of Care of the Aged, the RNLI and local charities. This ad is sponsored by Horsky's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour Ramelton.
With inflation rising, we're all feeling the squeeze. But An Post Money can help you take the power back. Start today with our free Money Manager tool for current account holders, helping you track your income and spending, set and stick to budgets, and much more. Ready to take the power back? Visit onpost.com/money manager. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
So you're settling down to stream the rugby when you're interrupted by this. And this.
Daddy, why is a cow called a cow?
But what's never interrupted is your internet. Because with Vodafone Always Connected broadband technology, you get automatic network backup for your broadband. Come on, lads! Sorry. That's the power of our mobile and broadband networks together. Search Vodafone Always Connected.
provides internet connection to 4G mobile network when loss of fixed broadband occurs. Eligibility limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
CETA, the global leader in technologies enabling safe and seamless global travel, is growing its technical teams in Letterkenny. We are searching for people with a passion for innovation and the technical skills to build the next generation of digital products that will transform the journeys of millions of passengers across the world. Join us at our Tech Open Night at CETA's Letterkenny offices on Thursday, June 23rd between 5:30 and 9 p.m. Discover the digital products that we develop, meet the local teams, and enjoy some food and drinks on us. To attend, please register at ceta.aero/Letterkenny. Come and build the future of travel with us.
For great food in the heart of Letterkenny's Cathedral Quarter, step into Dillon's Hotel. Using only the best local produce, Dillon's serve an extensive menu every day from 12. Perfect for a quick bite, a relaxed lunch, or a leisurely dinner. Try the renowned 4-course Sunday lunch with full table service. Or if you work in town, why not pre-order and have your lunch waiting? Great food and service, 7 days a week at Dillon's Hotel Letterkenny, with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Visit dillons-hotel.ie.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme, and we welcome into studio now Tiana Hannigan, Cara Eaton and Ella McCarran. All three of you, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's all very exciting times, isn't it, Tiana? You're part of a group of Raphoe Town Football Club players. You're in the under-15s, is that right?
We're under 16.
Under-16s, okay. And you're all heading out to Austria. How many of you heading out there, Tiana?
11 players plus the 2 coaches.
Okay, and tell us why. What's happening over there?
It's a tournament about cultural diversity, and it's conflict countries trying to find common ground through football.
Right, and exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. Ella, I think you're the only team in Ireland going out, aren't you?
We're the only team in the Republic of Ireland,
Yeah.
and then there's the Crusaders going from Northern Ireland then.
And what do we know about what's going to happen?
So we had a meeting a while back with Des and Trevor and Hugh, and they were telling us the activities that we're going to be doing, and everything looks great on the itinerary that we got. So we're all looking forward to that there, and there's going to be kind of team building exercises with the other clubs, and then there's going to be a joint training session and then a match on the Sunday. So
Good stuff.
we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, everyone, the tackles will still be going in. It's not going to be all friendly, is it?
No, definitely not.
Right. And Ella, I'll stay with you before bringing Cara and Tiana back in here. You have been playing for a few years now with the club. You were top scorer in under-14s, then injured. Now you're getting back to fitness. It's been a topsy-turvy few years for you, sports-wise.
Slowly and steadily I'm getting back to it because I was out there for about 3 months, so I'm just glad to be back.
And in your case, Ella, is this something, at a good level that you'd like to do, when you're teen years whilst you're doing everything else, or do you see a future playing?
I love playing football. It's because I've played it all my life, so you never know what could happen, if you know what I mean.
All right, okay. Some people are over-talented. Cara's one of them. As well as being a defender and midfielder, Cara, you are also pretty good at athletics as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I really enjoy. I also play badminton and hockey, and I play badminton at the high performance level, and I'm trying to get on the Irish teams and traveling around the country to play badminton.
Yeah, so you're well travelled through the other sports that you're interested into, but this is something different. This is extra exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and I also love football, and I love the team that I play with and the girls, and I came from a different school than most of the girls, and it's just a few of the best friendships that I've ever made.
Yeah, and a great way to meet new people. It's difficult moving into a new school, isn't it? But if you find something, a common interest, it's great, isn't it? All right. Okay, so you're excited for this. Tiana, you're a goalkeeper with the under-16s as well. But I'm right in saying that you've also been involved with the senior women's squad, is that correct?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Because you are still pretty young.
Yeah, they were looking for an extra goalkeeper because they only have one.
Yeah.
It's for a side goalkeeper. And play with them sometimes.
Right, and what's that like? Where do you have to travel for that, for the training and games?
No, it's just in the same place as my under-16 team.
Right, brilliant stuff.
Rougher, but it's more fun.
Yeah, and you've kind of been flagged, haven't you, as being, an emerging talent by the FAI, which is really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Have you always been a goalkeeper, or did you play outfield, or?
No, I used to play outfield when I first started, when I was 11.
Yeah.
I used to play in midfield, and then I used to do half and half, and then I became mostly a goalkeeper.
And you happy with that?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We're
What's
so
the?
lucky to have her.
Huh?
We're so lucky to have her.
All right. Yeah.
We'd be
If the
lost.
defence and everything else fails, it's all right. Tiana's got
yeah,
this.
Tiana's got it.
Yeah. Okay. But when you've played out, like, I'm not saying goalkeepers have to do an awful lot. Don't get me wrong, right? But you know, when you've been out playing in midfield and what have you, it's maybe a bit more action packed. Say you're playing behind a really good team, you might not see as much action as you would like. But you've got used to that. You don't mind that. You're shouting orders from.
Well, I do have a lot to do at Raffo, you know.
Do you?
A lot to do.
My bad. All right. All right. Okay. That's just another kick up the bum to the girls' outfield, is it? All right.
All right, girls.
Yeah. And come here. Do you think, like, I know this is a festival and all, but do you think would their scouts attend these type of events? Do you think, or are they trying to keep it on point? Because how often are you, or, you know, if you were scouting, how often are you going to get some of the best players in different countries all into the one spot? I mean, could happen.
Yeah, it could. You never know.
Happen.
Right.
Mainly for the fun, though.
Okay, so you kind of ran through what's coming up. So tell us how things. When do you travel out? What way? You know, what kind of stuff he's going to be doing? Do you know much about that yet?
We travel out on Thursday.
Right.
Night, and our flights are in 6 on Friday.
Very early.
In the morning. Set to arrive at the.
And you're going to have to be there
accommodation
like
around
about 2 o'clock, aren't you?
Exactly.
Accommodation at 12,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be fun, and then down to the game. It's the Raffo Town Football Club, for our listeners, is, as we've mentioned, the only team from the Republic of Ireland taking part in the Girls Football Festival. The other 7 are European countries that will be represented are Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia, Croatia, Greece, Northern Ireland and Austria. I mean, just to meet different people from different places with different backgrounds, it's going to be fantastic, isn't it? Is it a round robin or just one game that you're playing on the Sunday then?
We're not sure. It was more like mentioned as a tournament, so it's probably going to be round robin, and then whoever comes out top.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you think? You're the straight talker here, Tiana.
Our chances?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know
who's the
either.
captain on this team as well? It's not you, is it?
We don't have an under 15 team. It's an under 16 team.
right, okay.
It's kind of new farm, so we don't have a captain yet.
Brilliant stuff. And in terms of your actual playing for your club, where are you in terms of the season and all that type of stuff?
We have a match on tonight. Stockton against Moray, so.
Right,
So
okay.
we're actually playing. We're just starting to get into the season at the minute, and then it like started off as a bumpy start as a new team.
Yeah.
And then we got into the season and we started playing some super games. Exactly. So we're actually picking up ourselves now in the league table and hoping to head into the top part of the table.
Brilliant, good stuff. Because there's so many different sports looking for you, aren't there? You know, that you know, it's hard to. You have to really be committed to it, don't you? Especially, and it's clear that you are. Yeah. Well, listen, it's all very, very exciting. There's 11 years in total going out, and 2.
We're going out this Friday.
Yeah, but there's 11 of you team players, and then there's 2 coaches, is it? Yeah.
Can I just thank?
Yes, Cara. Anything you want, all of you, whatever you want to say, just say it now while you're here.
FAI and the Donegal Sports Partnership for giving us this opportunity, and then we couldn't do it without Liam and Sinead there. They're probably sitting watching us at the minute, but they also put so much work into it, and then that Ronan and Sinead are volunteered to take a group of us away. It may be tough, but we're so excited to go.
Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
Anything you want to say, Tiana?
Soccer mums.
Covered it all. Soccer mums.
Okay,
what?
Mums from home.
Yeah, all right, Ella.
No, just the whole club for kind of, and the coaches for putting up with us now and for going away.
But listen, come here. The journey's overnight. It's not ideal, but at least you get into your accommodation nice and early, and you have that full day then.
Yeah,
you know. Okay. Listen, brilliant. Well done to you all. Well done to the club itself, representing the Republic of Ireland. I mean, that's really quite significant, isn't it? You know, so it's a brilliant thing. And it sounds like it's a very useful event. Hopefully, maybe we'll talk to someone after you've come back to sort of get a sense of what was going on. But for now, Tiana Hannigan, goalkeeper, Cara Eaton, defender midfielder, and Ella McCarran, midfielder and forward. All three of you, thank you so much for coming in, and safe travels, and I hope you have a fantastic time.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
New summer footwear at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. New Balance, Asics, Brooks and Hoka. Brooks Adrenaline 22 in new colours just arrived. Hoka Clifton 8, new summer colours. Or try Bondi 7 for some extra cushioning. Bounce your way through the summer with the best brands and best fit for your feet. Look the part, play the part. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Treat your garden to a makeover at GMG Stone Letterkenny. We offer great value on decorative stone, garden paving, slabs and artificial grass. All tailored to your needs with home delivery available. We also supply railway sleepers, whiskey barrels and place sand. All available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday from 9:30am to 6pm. You will find us beside Donegal Motorhomes on the Port Road. For an appointment, call 087 647 9121. GMG Stone, just what your garden needs.
Green Shoes in Letterkenny and Fulcara have shoes for every occasion. All your favourite brands, from Una Healy, Tommy Bow and Echo, to Kate Appleby, Marcosi and Skechers, plus many more. Shop LK and One for All gift cards are gratefully accepted in store. Green Shoes in Letterkenny at Market Square and Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com. Green Shoes, with the perfect fit for every foot.
Gutcha go glishy tú faoi Gaelphobal Línra Letterkenny.
Gaelphobal Línra Letterkenny?
Sha to Línra Letterkenny mar Gaelphobal. If you want to promote more Irish in your business, learn Irish, join our book club, or to speak more Irish, young or old, Coupla Focal na Umlan Lifa, there's a welcome for you in Línra Letterkenny. Find out more at gaelphobal.ie.
Crohi Spas, Don Gaelige.
Gaelphobal.
Gaelige le Gaele.
All right, thanks again to the girls for coming in there. Had to watch myself in that interview because if I'd have put a foot wrong, I know for a fact I'd have been very quickly put in my box. But great to have the three in, and the very best of luck. I'm sure all those around them super proud. Tiana Hannigan, Cara Eaton and Ella McCarran, and the rest of the crew as well. Obviously, we couldn't get all 11 plus the coaches in, and I think the three girls there represented all of them really, really well. Okay, let's go through some of these comments that have been coming in so far this morning because, as I said earlier on, we want to make sure we give them the platform they deserve. What happens when you are referred to Tusla regarding your child's attendance at school? We've had a referral made to Tusla because our child has missed so many days. They have a medical condition. That is a box-ticking exercise in my experience of talking to people. Lots of young ones were off for over 21 days. For various reasons through COVID, and you can't not contact parents because COVID is around, because then you could miss situations where the children are in bother. And I know a lot of parents took umbrage at that, going, hold on a second, you know, they had this and that and the other. But then if you think about it, if they didn't check, they could miss situations. So as I say, my understanding is it's quite a simple process, and it's like, oh right, okay, that makes sense. Right, let's go to the comments about lots of different ones coming in. I want to go to the comments about the defective blocks scandal that we are living through at the moment. Can Greg please ask Charlie about the work-life balance bill, where they are looking to change the word woman from the Constitution, passing this bill without any consultation with the people, and this needs to be explained. That conversation maybe for another day. Nobody could believe the torture the Micah families are going through. Let this be the last of it, says a texter. Another, the government are going to do what they want, and it won't matter what the people need or want. That's always been the way. Everyone knows that. Well, you know what? You can see what's happening over in Britain at the moment. The rail unions have risen up. They're and they've been well led, actually. And they are saying, no, hold on, you're the billionaires' government. We're not actually just going to take what you say. We're gonna strike. And I see the likes of the Sun newspapers and others turning on them, calling them Marxists and all manner of things. But the public, actually, the majority of the people actually support the likes of the rail unions in their strike. And I think there's a movement happening over there. And you know what? I can see it happening here, where ordinary people, ordinary workers simply say, you know, enough is enough. I'm not going to just type about it. I'm actually going to get involved in something that's going to make a change. It's happening over there at the moment. I can see that even growing bigger. because the government is taking a stance. They're using the media, their media. Can you imagine buying a newspaper, a controlled newspaper? I can't understand why any person would do that, but that's what they have, and who are trying to demonize the strikers, and they're going to try and take them on. They're heading to the 80s again. Some of you will be old enough to remember the miners' strikes and what have you. I think that's the road they're going down again over there. But, maybe people over here would say we don't have to accept certain things. A caller says, disgraceful begrudgery. They know what's happening to our houses. They know what effect it's having on homeowners and their families, and yet they prevaricate, nitpick and spout hot air. The money involved equates to the increased money they're talking in taxes and duty from the recent increases in diesel. It's sickening, says that caller. Another believes that this is not redress. Thank you for recognising this, Greg. You're going to be scammed by this rubbish either, or you're not going to. How can Charlie McConalogue sleep at night? This is people's lives they're gambling with. Would Charlie be happy to move into a crumbling mica home with his children? And no, and I'm sure he's been through his fair share through this process as well. I mean, there is a point now, maybe at this moment, where politicians can make a very strong argument to fight from within, Mark McSharry, for example, can't do much now outside the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party. He just becomes an opposition voice. So if you want to make... I know this is no criticism of Deputy McSharry, by the way. I'm just talking to the logic that you stay within and you fight the corner of the people that elected you from within. But there comes a point then when that fight is lost. And then it comes to a point whereby a government with a very narrow majority, the Dáil votes. And it's whether the government has enough numbers to pass what they want. And that is when really the pressure comes on people to do something. That's when you can actually do something, because you can do no more from within. And it comes down to, who do I back here? Hi, Greg. Do TDs and all politicians go to a secret school after they're elected where they learn not to answer a question and keep talking and saying nothing? It doesn't work in their favour. I don't know why. I'm so deflated, I feel like throwing the keys to the bank and saying good luck. I simply can't take any more of this, says this caller. Greg, your questioning of Charlie McConalogue is far too aggressive. He's doing his best, but he's up against it in Dublin as well. Well, my apologies if my question came across as too aggressive. I would hope maybe the word might be direct, but anyway, I respect your view. Thank you. Can you ask Charlie what will I end up paying to have my house fixed? Can you ask him, will he pay any additional costs associated with this whenever he's sure this is 100% redress? This is an absolute joke. Does he think we came down in the last shower? I would have to listen back to the interview, but I don't believe Minister McConalogue used the word 100% at any point through that. I think it was about, full costs, but then, of course, not driveways, not pavements, not garages, whatever else might have to go along with this. And, the way around that way you can work with homeowners is allow them to build a smaller house but access the same size grant. It's the people that are coming up with real significant compromises, by the way, but ways that this could work. A caller says, if this scheme was done properly last year, it would have been 100,000 cheaper on the government. Dragging their heels is only seeing costs flying up and making it more expensive for families and the government. Ask Charlie to answer straight, will I get anything for my €45,000 shed that I saved every penny I had for it? Unless I heard wrong, I think that was actually given as an example of what would be an additional cost to the homeowner. A caller says, many people are in denial on the MICA issue. Will they in 5 years' time be allowed to apply for the scheme? Yeah, it's a good question. When we get a scheme, maybe we can ascertain that. I know it's probably in that document, but I wasn't able to go through it all. A caller says the foundations are not included unless the NSI include them in a year's time when it's reviewed. I just have a sense where that's going. And as I say, this pushes this whole thing into 2022. That's 2023. That's what it feels like to me. New government, effectively. Cabinet reshuffles. New leader. Hi, Greg. Why doesn't Charlie just say the government are holding off on paying until the next election and make themselves look good? That's why he won't answer the questions. Thanks, Greg. Charlie McConalogue's days are numbered. He'll not get the votes from the people for not standing with them. Charlie McConalogue is a Fianna Fáil representative. There's a lot of Fianna Fáil voters in this county. And, I presume he would enjoy the support of the majority of those, unless I'm very much mistaken. So nothing's a fait accompli. It also depends who else might be standing, who maybe could be from former Fianna Fáil ranks. Who's to say what could happen there? Do I have to build on the same foundation, or can I build a different house? same footprint, I think is what they said. Greg, I agree that everyone should get 100% to replace the size of the house they decide to build. If we decide to downsize, give what that size of house would cost. This is costing billions and a large proportion of buildings not even included yet. A few more here. Something badly wrong if you can't put up a house with 420,000 even with inflation. Okay, but you have to take out, you potentially, there's a lot of, I mean, everyone knows what goes into building a house, plus engineers' fees and all the other stuff that has to come out of that 420. It doesn't belong being gobbled up. How many deadlines is the MICA group going to give the government after 10 years? They're not going to budge, just bring them out. You have the people power behind you. In fairness to them, you do kind of have to, you know, there's still toing and froing. That scheme has been changed a little over the last week. I think you kind of have to find out what the final thing is, don't you? That would be prudent, I would imagine. Okay, anyway, listen, still more of your calls and comments to come. Really appreciate you sharing your views on such an important matter to you with us. Let's take a break. We'll come back with the news. We've got live music coming for you between 11 and 12. A really popular singer. You won't want to miss that.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what... The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €4.8 million. Play responsibly in store, in app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
If you're 65 or over, or you have a weak immune system, you can now get your second COVID-19 booster vaccine. Your vaccine is due 4 months after your last vaccine. It will improve your protection from COVID-19. You can book a vaccination centre appointment on hsc.ie or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. For more information on your second booster or to book an appointment, visit hsc.ie or call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE for us all.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
Okay, so as I said, lots coming up, including Ryan McMullen in studio, but at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update. And we say good morning to Emma. Hi, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Minister Charlie McConalogue says it will be early next year before the inclusions of foundations in the enhanced MICA redress scheme is confirmed. He says houses are not required to be built on the existing foundations of a property, but rather the footprint. A special meeting of Donegal County Council is to be held on Monday. Cahirla Councillor Jack Murray has requested the meeting to discuss the interagency response in Donegal to the Ukrainian crisis. Garda resources are diminishing further in West Donegal. This week it emerged that the patrol car in Fulcara has now reached end of life with no current plan to replace it. Meanwhile, Dunfanaghy has been without a car since October, which was also used to serve the Creasla area. In the event of an emergency, Garda cars will now have to travel from either Milford or Gweedore. The number of children in care in Donegal has slightly decreased from a peak at the end of last year. 289 and 26 children were in care in the county at the end of last year. That is down to 218 according to latest figures. Investigations are underway into a large fire in the waterside area of Derry last night. The blaze at the site of a number of unfinished homes at Dunfield Terrace was reported at around 8:10 p.m. Inspector Swanson says there are no reports of any injuries. However, if not for the work of the fire service, the outcome could have been different for residents in the immediate area and their homes. And finally, a new beach wheelchair has been added to Bundoran's Blue Flag main beach for this summer season. The wheelchair, which is adapted to suit soft, sandy conditions, will be available for people with mobility restrictions to enjoy the beach. That's all for now. We'll be back with more news at 12 o'clock.
All right, Emma, thank you very much. Sorry, did you want to say your name
okay.
or anything? No?
No, I'm all good.
That could have
thanks.
crossed you. I don't know. It's
That's
just been
grand.
one of those mornings.
Okay.
All right, Emma, take care. We'll be back with Wellness Wednesday, talking about home birthing options. That's with our guest, Megan Rice, coming up after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Buncrana Music Festival, Saturday and Sunday, July 2nd and 3rd. Dan McCabe, Moncrief, Hothouse Flowers, Paddy Casey, The Fratellis, Hudson Taylor, Leah Hart and many more. Buncrana Music Festival, July 2nd and 3rd. Tickets on sale at buncranamusicfestival.com.
Wet n Wild is your one-stop shop to prepare for the holidays. Wet n Wild are fully stocked with sandals, swimwear, sunglasses, UV protection, midge and mosquito protection, tents, stoves, cool boxes, cool bags, sleeping bags, backpacks, child carriers, first aid kits, money wallets and waterproof phone covers. Keep you and your family safe on holiday this summer with a visit to Wet n Wild.
Better value lives at Dunn Stores with big savings on your favourite brands. Choose from a range of half-price treats like Hunky Dory's sharing bags now $1.29 and Aero 4-packs now $1.32. Or save with half-price washing essentials like Persil Non-Bio 66 capsule packs now just €13. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Which means every trip to Dunn Stores means better value. Dunn Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Irish sun doesn't really count, right?
Look, we all deserve a bit of sun.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in Ireland, so whether you're at home or abroad, protect your skin by following these sun smart steps. Slip into long loose clothes, slop on the sunscreen, slap on a sun hat, seek shade. Yeah, even on the cloudy days. Oh, and slide on the sunglasses.
I do have very funky sunglasses.
And I do love this hat.
Be sun smart from the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
The final Saturday stretch, week 7, is this Saturday at Oakfield Park, Rafo, from 11 until late. This week there's live music from Lavengro after 6, with later running trains, food specials in Buffer's Restaurant, craft beers and wines, delicious coffees and sweet treats. It's the perfect family day out. Normal gate fees apply, no booking required. Season pass and gold pass holders enter free. Come along to the Saturday stretch, this Saturday at Oakfield Park.
Okay, on Wellness Wednesday, we're talking about home births, and we're joined now by Megan Rice, founder of Transforming Birth Donegal. Good morning to you, Megan. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Right, okay, so what is the situation for a woman in Donegal who wishes to have a home birth? Is that possible at the moment?
No, it's not possible at the moment, unfortunately.
How does that compare nationally, before you explain the background to that, Megan?
Of course, yeah. So the National Maternity Strategy 2016 to 2026 included rollout of home birth across the country, along with many elements of the National Maternity Strategy that has been slow to come or entirely absent in terms of progress made. So a very small number of women nationally have the opportunity to give birth at home, though many more would potentially like to.
Yeah, why might someone want to have a birth at home rather than a hospital? Do you know, where where you'd have all the teams on hand God forbid, if anything were to go wrong during the process?
Of course, yeah. So the reason why some women choose to home birth has many different facets to it, but the primary one is not having to leave the comfort of your own home. The large body of international research evidence that shows that it is a safe option, and also that it leads to fewer interventions, a much reduced rate of cesarean section, which carries its own long-term risks for women. So there's lots and lots of reasons.
Yeah, and in the build-up, presumably the comfort of where you are, and also immediately afterwards, you're still in that familiar surroundings, and your life with your young one begins at home immediately.
Yeah, of course. And the evidence shows that the being in your own home and in your familiar settings optimizes your body's own ability to produce the hormones that are necessary to start birth and to keep it going productively as well.
Yep, lots of people, and I know myself firsthand, have been in that experience during childbirth where something goes wrong, and thankfully the teams are on hand there to intervene very, very quickly and, get the baby straight into ICU or whatever might be required. It's their same, obviously not the same level as, but what happens in a home birth situation if such an event arises? This is actually for people who would be, that might be why they're nervous for doing this at home, for example.
Of course, yeah. I think there's a few points there. The first one is all women who approach their midwife or their hospital looking to home birth are risk assessed. So only women with straightforward, low risk singleton pregnancies are typically cleared for home birth. So any of the usual high risk scenarios, breech births, twins, a woman with a history of high blood pressure, things like that would all be risked out to start with.
Yeah.
So they would be birthing either, in an obstetric unit or a shared care unit, ideally. But if something does go wrong at home, and I can speak to this from personal experience, I have been a doula accompanying women to their births since 2007. And I worked for many years in the UK where home birth is far more accessible. I witnessed firsthand a woman who hemorrhaged very shortly after birth. And I have to say, the midwives handled it wonderfully. They had her stabilized long before the paramedics arrived, which was fairly quickly.
Yeah.
People forget that midwives are highly trained medical professionals.
Of course, that's in the case of the mum. No, I don't think anyone on this call suggested such. That's,
no, of course not.
Yeah, that's in case of the mothers. What about in the event, that there might be an issue with the baby? Do they have equipment with them? What happens in that scenario?
They do. So they would have a full neonatal resuscitation equipment that they would bring with them. And the other thing, at a home birth, there are always two midwives. So in a hospital, you might be lucky to get one rushing in and out. You might be seeing, 30 or more patients at a time. At your home birth, you have two dedicated midwives. One is just for you and one is just for your baby.
Are they HSE provided, or do you have to source them yourself?
So the HSE does provide home birth in a very small number of areas. The coverage area is small and it's shrinking regularly. The primary provider for home births in Ireland at the moment are Private Midwives Ireland, who provide an excellent service. Unfortunately, it can only be availed of if you can afford it, which is not fair and not in line with the National Maternity Strategy.
Is it not a little bit too much, though? You know yourself the pressures that are on the healthcare system in terms of actually staffing and recruitment and all that kind of stuff and retention. At this time, to sort of ask for additional services, outside of the centres of excellence, because every decision we argue about here on this programme to do with health is about the centres of excellence, and presume the HSE might say, well, the centre of excellence, the safest place is a maternity unit in an acute hospital. Is it realistic to be seeking them to sort of say, right, okay, let's go down the home birth route at this time?
So I think staffing is one of the primary prerequisites for home birth. Also, for any kind of birth, I mean, maternity units at the moment are ridiculously understaffed. And the HSE and the government are doing, quite frankly, a terrible job in terms of recruitment and retainment. If COVID has taught us anything, it has shown us that when, things hit the fan, the money can magically be found. So if this was a priority for them, and if they had any intention of fulfilling their national maternity strategy in time for 2026, the money would be found.
Yeah.
And part of the big problem with retainment and retention and recruitment is they're not paying midwives nearly what they should be. Midwives and nurses make a deplorable wage for the amount of work that they do,
Yeah.
the very high skilled work that they do.
Now, unfortunately, Donegal doesn't have a fully midwife-led unit in Donegal as a birthplace option. Other areas do. Where does this sit, in this conversation? That is separate to home births, but it's not a hospital environment. Is that it?
Correct, yeah. So a midwife-led unit is like a midway point, if you will. So they're typically co-located with hospitals, although they don't have to be. But they typically are, so that just in the event something does go unexpectedly wrong, people can be brought straight into the obstetric unit at the hospital. They're staffed exclusively by midwives, and they have been shown in, again, many, many international studies to be as safe or safer for women with a straightforward, healthy pregnancy, particularly if it is not their first child. And interestingly, for babies, they have been shown to be as safe as birth on an obstetric unit.
So is this then about the experience, Megan, or is it about outcomes or what? Because as I've mentioned before, and I don't want to labour the point on this, no pun intended there at all, of course, that we do have the hospitals there, right? And we have the acute hospital system. And yet we're looking. Why are we looking? I know you talked about how it's probably a better environment and everything, but why is it so important that we would campaign to have home birth or to have the establishment of a midwife-led unit in this region, for example? Do you know, what is the advantages other than it might be a better experience?
Yeah, well, midwife-led units, for one, have also been shown to reduce healthcare costs. Including in places like the US, whose healthcare system is extremely, expensive. So if it can do it there, it can do it anywhere. They've been shown to reduce healthcare costs, and also the international right of women to choose where, how, and with whom they birth has been non-existent in Ireland.
Is there a distrust of the hospital network too? Is that a factor in this at all?
I think to some extent there is. I'm going to be very blunt here and say that there's a lot of birth trauma for women coming out of Irish hospitals. Women who feel they haven't been listened to, women who have been perhaps coerced into procedures with fear-based information rather than evidence-based information. And women who come away feeling very traumatized with very little support, and they would like to have more agency over their births going forward.
So, I mean, this campaign's not starting from square one. This is a call really for recommendations. The recommendation to have the option of home birth integrated into the maternity network. The recommendation is there. So that's really where this is at. Act on that recommendation. Those who are in favour of this, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has already been discussed at length when forming the National Maternity Strategy, and other groups, including AIMS Ireland and the Midwives Association of Ireland, put in absolutely Trojan work to go over the evidence in forming the National Maternity Strategy when they spoke before different councils as the government was forming it. Unfortunately, the government seemed to have had little to no will to fulfill most parts of the National Maternity Strategy, except in token.
Okay, and I understand some listeners texting in talking about very sad cases where either mother or baby or both passed away during a home birth. I don't know if that really adds to the conversation, and that's with no disrespect to the texters, because then we could start drawing on, well, what happens actually, in hospitals and people's experiences there. And I think once you start talking about that, we do that so much with issues, and then we end up, we're not actually talking about the issue itself. We're just trying to use two extremes to argue our own points, and we get nowhere with that, I don't think, anyway. But I appreciate all text, don't get me wrong. Okay, Megan, any political support for this, by the way? Obviously at the moment it's grassroots sort of a situation, but I mean, do we know the position of maybe women within government or opposition parties, or men within government as well? But you know what I mean. What politically is the situation here?
Well, we have written to the ministers regularly with regard to this. We've received no reply from them for their part. They always refer us back to the HSE, who always refer us back to CELTA Group, who always have some kind of excuse for why they're not going to even approach it at the moment. So nobody wants to take responsibility.
You see, on the face of it, from CELTA, and we know from dealing with them, they will make extremely clinical decisions, right? They will say, well, these are centres of excellence. This is where people have the best outcome. This is where people have to go. I think it requires, for this to change, it would require someone who sort of thinks beyond that. Do you know, there's a different ideology, perhaps, that balances things up, including emotions and feelings and what might be best outside of a clinical setting. And I think often with a lot of these issues, that's where the things grind to a halt. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, well, I think the current system are keen to hold on to their monopoly, because that's what it is. It's a monopoly. The evidence globally does not support the claim that it's the safest. In fact, there are many studies out there that show that, for instance, birth on a midwife-led unit or home birth can be as safe or safer.
Well, the only problem with that is that I don't know how they're going to sort those statistics out, because you've already said that, it's only plain sailing pregnancies that presumably would qualify to be born, to babies to be born in midwife-led unit and in a home birthing situation. So I don't know how we could accurately compare figures, because the hospital system is accommodating all. So I don't know how are those figures. How can you make that comparison with that situation?
Well, I mean, the problem with the hospital unit is that absolutely everybody who goes into it under the assumption that birth is a pathology, that it's not necessarily a natural event, that it's something that needs to be managed. Ireland literally invented active management of labour, which has not improved outcomes at all. All it's led to is a higher intervention rate, and in fact, poorer maternal morbidity statements, which means women who are injured during birth.
Okay. Right, Megan, it's been insightful. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much indeed. If people want more information on Transforming Birth Donegal, or this campaign or movement, or whatever is the best way to describe it, grassroots movement. If you Google or search Transforming Birth Donegal on Facebook, for example, I presume you'll stumble upon a page.
You will, yeah.
All right, listen, as I say, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
And if I could just say one last thing, Greg,
yep,
I think autonomy is the most important. So we're not anti-hospital birth. We are for women having the autonomy to make their own choices about where, how, and with whom they birth.
Okie doke. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. That is Megan Rice, founder of Transforming Birth Donegal. We'll be back with more on the show, including some live music for you after the messages.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The train calling at Platform 3 is the 1959 service to Cork. Calling at Charleville, Mallow and Maria in C32A starts chemo next month.
We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSE, for us all.
Are you switched on to your energy rights?
If you're worried about rising energy costs and are having difficulty paying your gas and electricity bills, you should contact your supplier. Suppliers are required to assist customers in genuine financial difficulty and can put in place payment arrangements to help you manage your energy bills. If you qualify as a vulnerable customer due to health, age, or for other reasons, you can register with your supplier for additional protections. Switch on to your rights and visit cru.ie. Brought to you by the Commission for Regulation of Utilities.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Buncrana Music Festival, Saturday and Sunday, July 2nd and 3rd. Dan McCabe, Moncrief, Hothouse Flowers, Paddy Casey, The Fratellis, Hudson Taylor, Leah Hart and many more. Buncrana Music Festival, July 2nd and 3rd. Tickets on sale at buncranamusicfestival.com.
Gajimmer a Tarship Colin Ferreter and Sean. Biggie Lenny Kidin ye Sharkaji Huck the Clog, Nirves, Catherine Ni Whelan, Kjoltor Ahanta, and Makudgerta, Agazi, Eksholu, Duludeska Ur Seki. Bulya Bulya Ihi Kidin, Sharkaji Huck, Biggie Lin.
All right, a real treat for you now because I am genuinely really pleased to welcome into studio Ryan McMullen, singer-songwriter from Portaferry in Northern Ireland. Good morning to you. Thank you so much, Ryan, for calling in.
Thanks for having me.
How's things treating you? How's life?
Life's pretty good. It's pretty full on at the minute.
That microphone's not working, you know. No. How's that now? Yeah?
Yeah. 1, 2.
Lovely. Yeah, so you were telling us how life is at the moment?
Yeah, life's pretty good. It's pretty busy. I guess it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because thankfully we're getting back to real life, but it's a curse because I was used to sitting static for 2 years, so it's kind of going not to 100 in about 4 seconds.
Yeah, you know, when your name comes up, people, you seem to have a fantastic relationship with your fans and a real loyal fan base. You know, it's like your success, obviously you require the supports of, radio, whatever it might be, but there seems to be a particular connection you have with your fans where they're really loyal towards you and, will follow you anywhere effectively. Do you get that?
Well, funny you say that because as I was saying earlier, being a musician, it's not really a morning thing, it's a night thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't do well in the mornings, and I was on my way up here and I stopped at a petrol station to get, diesel, and I went in to get a sandwich and I had the head on me of a bear, and the girl behind the counter was just like, "Oh, have you any gigs today?" And I just forgot myself. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I actually can't be that way. Like, you can't have the head."
I was going to say, normally, did you get petrol or diesel? And they're asking what gigs are coming up.
Yeah. And that kind of, so to that girl, I apologise for me with the head like a bear. But I also appreciate her.
Yeah, but you keep it real anyway, don't you? I mean, that's your style, isn't it? There's no airs and graces. I mean, you're
it's pretty much
a normal person, super talented, but you're,
Yeah, only human. So, and fair play to her, she makes a mean flat white.
Come here, what about this tour? It's huge. Now, there are gigs in Ireland, of course. You're in Belfast on the 27th of August in the Custom House Square, in Limerick and in Dublin as well. And in Derry, it's the most local gig in the Millennium Forum. But after that, you are all over the place.
Yes, it's the debut album, and we figured let's do as many shows as we can to as many people or as little people, depending where the shows are, as possible. It's kind of one of them things where you work so hard to have a debut album, and when it comes out, I just want to play it to every corner that I possibly can.
And every corner where you possibly can, you're going to have fans too as well because of, and I've said this to previous guests in the past, because of the way streaming and what have you works, or your social media, you're reaching people all over the place. It's not like it was 20 years ago. You know, you will be going to Canada and there will be people there that will be singing along with your songs.
Isn't that mental? It's
Just brilliant.
It's
but
unbelievable.
it is. The world is shrinking all the while, isn't it, Ryan?
Absolutely.
All right. I want to talk about you're going to do 2 songs for us. I've been reliably informed, if that's all right with you, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, and we'll talk more about the new single and the album. What are you going to play for us first?
First, I'll play the current single, which is Real Love.
Yeah, okay. So whenever you're ready, and we'll have more chat with Ryan after this. His current single, Real Love, released in May. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Looking back, trying to work it out, I can't pretend that the blurred lines got any clearer now. If only you could have talked about how it's too hard to change. Baby, I know how it feels. I know how it feels. And I don't want to leave, but I want to believe you when you tell me this is over. Whatever happened to the moral of the story, the happy ever after? And I don't want to lose, but I don't want to confuse you that any of it matters. It turns out when you know, you know. And the funny thing about us, I can pretend to the whole world just how I feel. I was never enough. Now when you stand to lose, that's what I choose, you feel. I'm holding out for something real, something real, something. I don't want to leave, but I want to believe you when you tell me this is over. Whatever happened to the moral of the story, the happy ever after? And I don't want to lose, but I don't want to confuse you that any of it matters. It turns out when you know, you know. I can tell the way you talk, you don't give enough. Maybe in time you think it's real love. Real love shouldn't need this kind of word. Real love shouldn't need this kind of word. I can tell the way you talk, you don't give enough. Maybe in time you'll think it's real love. Real love shouldn't need this kind of work, no. Real love shouldn't need this kind of work. I don't want to leave, but I want to believe you when you tell me this is over. Whatever happened to the moral of the story, the happy ever after? And I don't want to lose, but I don't want to confuse you that any of it matters. It turns out when you know, you know. It turns out when you know, you know.
Great stuff, Ryan. Yours is always an interesting story, you know, and that you do things a wee bit differently. Or because last time I was speaking to you, or one of the last times I was chatting to you, you were in the process of, well, you were involved in the documentary debut, weren't you?
Yeah.
Where some of the album, which you'll be releasing in August, it was being shot, and it was an interesting experience, I think, for you.
Crutch Island, beautiful, absolutely stunning. As I've said, I think before, I do a lot of writing in Donegal, so it kind of made sense to do a bit of the recording up here too and show a bit of that side of things. The air's fresher, the head's a bit clearer. It's just incredible up here. But it just kind of felt right to showcase a bit of Donegal because it's literally a part of the album, you know.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And about the album, it is your first album, but of course you had a huge body of work leading up to it, right? So how much of this is stuff that's been sitting there, you've been mad to get it out and sort of in an album? How much of it have you written specifically for the album, or what's the balance there?
Yeah, well, that was the funny thing about the documentary, because as soon as it came out, everything had to change again. So the documentary came out, the album was kind of done, and then when all the postponements had to happen, the album changed. So, I mean, there's songs there from 2018 that I've always wanted to release, that I'm finally getting to release. But during the pandemic, it was kind of hard to ignore the pandemic in this scenario. So a few of the songs is a bit too real at times, you know. But, you know, I think it would have been a disservice to the album to absolutely disregard one of the biggest moments in history.
But the thing about good songwriting, though, is it's relative. You know, what you might write about, another person connects with that song about something in their life that might not precisely be what you're talking about. And I think that's the secret to a really good song, isn't it?
Yeah, anything that connects.
Yeah. And so the album's coming out in August, and you've got this tour. It's all go for you. I mean, are you able to enjoy it, or is it just a roller coaster ride up and down, or are you able to stand back and say, right, I'm going to take this all in?
A bit of everything, to be honest. You know, being off for 2 years and really coming to a standstill. You know, I'm just not long back from a 7-week tour, and this tour's coming up. It's 2 months, and it's everything that I ever dreamed of, you know. But
you're not sick of hotels yet?
I'm very sick of hotels, yes. It's kind of one of them things that I don't think I'm the only musician to say this, but sometimes whenever you're traveling, you kind of find these people who maybe start off as like fans or whatever, but they become really friendly. So I've got these little mini families all over the world that just makes it a bit more homey.
It's like
you know?
Free Airbnb, really.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. Well, it's never free, you know. There's always a song or two.
There's always a song or two. Hey, that's the priceless too, to some extent. Right, and then what is your setup? Is it you and the guitar for the forthcoming tour round?
Well, the intention is always going to be to do it with a band. You know, I didn't work this hard to not play the songs the way they deserve to be played first time around anyway. So I'm kind of hoping that all the dates align with all the players in the band and stuff like that. So far, so good. My guitar player is actually from Donegal.
Brilliant.
So as long as they can come, I'll have them. You know.
Yeah, I know your guitar player, don't you?
Declan,
of course.
Yeah.
You mentioned he was working with you. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. What a talent to have on board.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Is he good crack?
No, he's awful crack. You know.
Brilliant. I mean, that's whoever else is along with you. But if you and Declan working together, it's just going to be awesome. There's no doubt about that. Right. Okay. So just to remind people where they can see you live, you're all over the place, of course. But here locally, Belfast in the Custom House Square on the 27th of August. In September, the 22nd, you're in Dublin. But people are all over the place nowadays. There's gigs everywhere. Derry, 3rd of November, and as I said earlier on, you're in Germany. Aren't you? America, and all over the place. Okay, right. It's so exciting. I'm so jealous. You know, I'm over the hill now, and this is all ahead of you. I just hope you enjoy it.
Yes, listen, always, this is the best job in the world, and sometimes it does. You kind of remember that it is a job at times, but ultimately, when you take it away, like what just happened, you kind of
I think that's had a real... I mean, it has had a big impact on us all, but I think artistically and for you as an individual, you've really gotten what we've been through, what was sacrificed, and what we'll hopefully have it back now.
Yeah, hopefully have it back, and just keep the gigs coming, because 2 years of no gigs kind of just tells you how much personally I need them. So
of course,
and I'm not the only one for sure.
Yeah, and you're only going one way, and that's up, right? There's no doubt about that. Right, what are we gonna listen to finally then?
Well, this is the thing. I don't have a second song planned, but if it's okay with you, I might try and bluff a song.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it. That's real then, isn't it?
Because this is a beautiful song anyway, but I started playing it last night in the house, and I thought I should really learn this song. It's not one of mine, by the way.
All right, so this is actually even better, Ryan. Yeah. We are actually going to get something brand new from you.
Well, it's not mine.
Yeah, it's new.
But
don't try and water this down. I'm building it up.
Yeah.
Stop watering it down. All right, whenever you're ready, Ryan.
Okay. I call you, I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me, wild and wild. When you come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world full of dreams. Speak a language of love like you know what it means. I can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. You're simply the best. You're better than all the rest. You're better than anyone I've ever met. I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. In your heart I see the star of every night and every day. In your eyes I get lost, I get washed away. Just as long as I'm here in your arms, I could be in no better place. You're simply the best. You're better than all the rest. You're better than anyone I've ever met. I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. You're simply the best.
That's great, Ryan. It really is. It sounds like it should have always sounded like that. Right, that is absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not putting you under any pressure, and this is only a bit of crack, right? But one of the last times Declan was on with us, he wrote a song the night before. Okay. You might ask about that, and he came in and sang it, and it was absolutely awesome. So you used to work under pressure very well.
Right, okay. Right. I thought you were going to ask me to write a song on the spot there. I was like, come on.
No, it's not iRadio you're on. Come here. I'm only joking. Come here, Ryan. Listen, best luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
It really is. And I say one of the things I think is so great about you is how loyal and supportive your fans are of you, and you're going to see that wherever you go. I've no doubt about that. But thanks for calling in to see us again, Ryan.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, that is the super talented Ryan McMullen, singer-songwriter from Portaferry, Northern Ireland, but of course big, strong connections with Donegal, particularly on his new album.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and not to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
At AIB, we know how difficult finding the right home can be. The searching, bidding, and time that lives behind every sale agreed sign. But when you finally do find the right home, AIB can make the mortgage part easier. With our online mortgage tool, you can manage your application online. Find out more at AIB.ie. AIB, we back belief. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks plc is an authorised agent and servicer of AIB Mortgage Bank QC in relation to the origination and servicing of mortgage loans and mortgages. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Mortgage Bank QC are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tickets are now on sale for Century Complex VIP meal deal, which includes a 2-course meal and backstage, admission to selected movies in Century Cinema's VIP screenings, a combo with popcorn, soft drink and a free refill, all for $33.95 per person. For further information and to get your tickets, visit centurycinemas.ie.
Your future starts here. International companies are holding a 1-to-1 tech recruitment drive at CoLab this Saturday. Many exciting, high-level opportunities will be on offer in software development, accountancy, communications, fire engineering and much more. Meet the teams, visit the offices and find out the best option for you. That's this Saturday the 25th from 10 to 3 at CoLab in Letterkenny.
Getting value on your shopping has never been more important. That's why at Super Value we have great offers like selected fresh Irish barbecue meats like pork sizzlers, any 3 for €10. Signature Taste breakfast deal, only €5. And get new weekly money off vouchers on the Real Rewards app. For low prices that compete with anyone, it's got to be Super Value.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. The part-time Level 8 Honours degree in Business is delivered through a mix of online and face-to-face lectures. Email execedbusiness@lyit.ie. That's EXECED business@lyit.ie or call 9186206.
Kieran O'Donnell's in with us. Kieran, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Yeah, what part of another different show we've
You have a busy morning.
with
Hey.
one of the biggest news
Mixed
stories
bag.
in this county ever. Then we've got the 3 brilliant young girls heading out to Austria and doing fantastic things in sport. And we've got Ryan in,
Quality music.
who I believe is one of the best artists we have in Ireland.
And then it comes back into the ordinary stuff of Business Matters.
Then a bit of Business Matters, but the listeners get it all here, which is fantastic. And always don't forget you can watch the programme. Go on our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see Ryan there. You would have seen Ryan there, or go onto our socials, YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or Highland Radio News and Sport, or Highland Radio on Facebook. But I might cut Ryan's performances out and post them separately for you a little later on. Okay, let's get into business. The ETB, the Education Training Board, and the County Council, they've announced new traineeships. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed, Greg. Donegal ETB and Donegal County Council have launched a new Public Works Operations and Maintenance course. So the aim of the new training course is to provide work-ready operatives for entry-level operations and maintenance positions for the construction or local authority sectors. So the traineeship will last 35 weeks and applicants can apply online through Donegal ETB's website Course Finder.
I find myself unable now to hide my frustration when we start talking about derelict properties in this county, the taking over of derelict properties, because I've been talking about it now, it seems, for 10-12 years, and we're no further on. And I think there was stats during the week that might have sort of pointed in that direction. But we suppose we have to keep trying new things. There's a conference taking place.
Yes, and things may change possibly on the back of what we're going to talk about, Greg. Indeed, Letterkenny Tidy Towns will host a special conference on dereliction in Dillon's Hotel on Friday, July the 22nd, and that will be in conjunction with Letterkenny Cathedral Quarter. And that event gets underway at 11 a.m. So conference organiser Donnan Harvey has described dereliction in Letterkenny and Donegal as a live issue that affects both individuals and communities negatively, and said addressing the issue would be a clear 1-1 for both. So following the conference, Greg, there are plans for an official celebration of the Historic Towns initiative on Church Lane, which has transformed buildings on one of Letterkenny's oldest streets, and we focused on that project as well earlier in the year.
And maybe the progress comes from it being sort of community driven. Right, some big money for some houses changing hands at the moment, Kieran.
Yeah, just one caught the eye, Greg. A bungalow located along Atlantic Drive in Downings has sold for more than €750,000. The 1,200 square foot home at Glen Ury, I think is the right pronunciation, went on the market with a reserve price of €575,000. The sale of the property was handled by McElhinney Estate Agents in Mulford.
And if it's the same house, I think that was listed needing a little bit of work as well. But if you've got that money, you'll probably go in and do whatever you need to do.
You made the most change out of the big one there, Greg.
Huh? I know.
They must change with the big one there.
Exactly.
That one.
Right, okay. Tech Recruitment Day at CoLab.
Yeah, a number of companies based at CoLab, which is located at the ATU Donegal campus in Letterkenny, are holding a recruitment event this Saturday, June the 25th, from 10:30am to 3pm. So representatives from Involve, Garden Technologies, Druva, AccountantOnline.ie, Zinkworks, ITUS Secure Technologies and Electroroute will all be on hand to talk about their companies and the current vacancies they have. There will then be an opportunity for a one-to-one talk with company representatives. So if there are people out there who are interested and aren't able to make Saturday's recruitment, Greg, they can email info@colab.ie or call 07491 86703.
Yeah, that could be the start of your new career there, or change.
It's a new approach that the companies are taking, and it's very much sort of an open door policy. Come in and see what we have to offer. So it'll be interesting. I might do a follow-up thing in terms of how successful they've been.
Yeah, for sure, and how that might work versus sort of traditional ways of recruiting. Maybe that is a traditional way now, but I see it does seem a little bit
change.
It seems new, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, listen. You're preaching to the converted on this one. We're all seeing our bills drop through the door and our jaws dropping to the floor. It's just, I mean, between coal, electricity, oil, which way you turn, I just can only imagine how much turf is going to be burnt this winter in wood. But anyway, talk to us about the electricity bills.
Yeah, the rise in weekly household energy bills, including motor fuels, between January 2021 and April 2022 is €38.63, and that's according to the Economic and Social Research Institute. Their latest findings have also revealed that the after-tax hit of energy cost hikes for the lowest fifth of earners is 5.9%, and that is compared to 3.1% for the highest fifth. So again, the gap between those who have and those who have less is getting wider.
Yep, and it's not about it's easier on the wealthiest because they have more money.
Correct.
The system is set up such that it impacts the wealthiest less than it does the poorest. And that is, it's not unique to Ireland, but I don't know. All right, Kieran, listen, thanks for that. That is the news. We're going to be coming back to preview the podcast with Kieran O'Donnell after we take this break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Prep for your best you this summer with Clarins at McElhenny's. Choose 3 deluxe size complimentary beauty treats with the purchase of 2 or more Clarins products, 1 to be a moisturiser or serum. Plus, take home 2 makeup must-haves with a 3rd purchase. Available at McElhenny's in-store or online until June 25th.
For me, it started with the specially selected Parma ham from Aldi. So silky, so melt in the mouth. You'll speak Italian after it. What about the specially selected sourdough cob? Irish, so you'll still sound Irish after eating that. And don't even get me started on the lime, basil and mandarin hand and body lotion. Shame you can't smell it over the radio. All this choice starts with Aldi. Every day amazing.
Due to continued expansion, Watson Hire and Letterkenny have a vacancy for a mechanic and plant fitter. Work will include maintenance and repair of plant hire, tools and equipment. Experience with diesel, petrol and electrical machinery will be important. A full driver's licence and basic computer knowledge is essential. This position is full-time and offers a competitive salary. To apply, send your CV to jobs@watsonhire.ie.
If you're getting married, the in-house design team in BizPrint can get all your wedding stationery and signage needs customised to your requirements. Just visit weddinginvites.ie or call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 9177955.
Looking for the ultimate makeover for your home? Revive a special room conservatory or sunroom? Look no further. Hardwood Plantation Shutters is your answer. A stunningly beautiful piece of furniture that will totally enhance the look and bring ambience to any area of your home. Luxurious and classically modern, and manufactured here in the Northwest. Any size, shape or colour. Call or check out our website, Plantation Shutters Ireland. Also on Facebook and Instagram. Business Matters, in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. The part-time Level 8 Honours degree in Business is delivered through a mix of online and face-to-face lectures. Email execedbusiness@lyit.ie.
That's EXECED business@lyit.ie or call 9186206.
All right, Kieran is still with us, of course, and now we get on to the business of previewing what's coming up on this week's Business Matters podcast, Kieran.
Yes, Greg, on this week's Business Matters, I'm joined by the owner of Spear Performance Gym and Fitness Centre in Letterkenny, Adam Spear. After leaving secondary school, Adam completed a sports science degree in Wales. He went on to study sports therapy and practiced locally while also working in local gyms. He took a change in career path soon after and moved into the area of personal training and strength and conditioning on a full-time basis. Adam established Spear Performance at New Mills on the outskirts of Letterkenny in 2015. During our conversation earlier this week, I asked him what words of advice would he give his 21-year-old self.
Back yourself. Don't be afraid to fail. Because it's, I said, if you've only had a €500 car loan, and you're sitting there with a bank loan that's substantially more, and you're, not sleeping, and people are giving you advice saying, don't do it, it's not going to work. Do you know what? If I do it again, I just say, I do what I did do. I just went for it. When you're putting colours on the wall, and the white paint is X amount, but the green paint is a little bit more, the green paint looks better, go buy the green paint. Those little things to me made a big difference. I do love graphic design and that type of stuff. So if I wasn't doing that this year, I'd probably be working in design and stuff. I've always liked art at school and stuff. And I get a kick out of logos, designs, branding. So, the advice I would say is, keep going. Just back yourself, because it's easy to say, oh, look, I don't fancy it today. You've just got to get up and get it on. And work hard. You've got to work harder. And at the start, probably looking back, I wouldn't do the same amount of hours I did back then now, but I wouldn't change it, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't realise what I know now in terms of flogging myself.
Yeah, get him into the transition year classes. Good advice for a 21-year-old self, but good advice for young people, just to give you the confidence to back yourself.
Yeah, I suppose it's 10 or 12 years now in business. Adam was also recruited by Jim McGuinness in 2010 when he took over the Donegal senior football team, and within 2 years Donegal had won on All-Ireland, and that was a big platform for Adam, and gave him great profile and gave him great confidence. Going back to setting up on his own, he had was involved in a few previous gyms, and I suppose this was the last one. He wanted to make sure he got it right, and I suppose he was going to do what he thought was the best way to succeed, and he's there now, and the business is going extremely well for him.
All right, okay. The full interview is available now on our website, highlandradio.com, wherever you get your podcasts, by the way. And people often ask me, Kieran, if I don't want to listen to it podcast, I want to listen to it on the radio. What would you say to those people?
Listen to it on the radio?
When?
6:05 on Sunday evening.
Okay, but the second question, the second question they come up with, but I want to email him.
Yeah, I don't believe he.
They do say that.
We'll give out our email address anyway.
Okay,
it's businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Well, Lee was giving that to me earlier on, saying that I say the same stuff all the time, so I'm trying to mix it up a bit. Using a bit of, not me and you, me and him.
Ah, well.
So I'm thinking, right.
You sort that out with him.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to use a bit of artistic license. It's for the listener. We do this for our listeners. Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of Business Matters. How many is that now?
97.
Oh, we're getting close, boy. All right, well done. A lot of stuff there, and the back catalogue is there as well. And because of the nature of the interviews, it gives you an insight into business, the people behind the businesses, how they got there. It's as much sometimes about their lives as it about what they do. It's their journey. That catalogue of stuff is there. It's not about what happened last Monday. Let's talk about that now. These are timeless for the most part podcasts. It's a great catalogue there, a great resource for people, Kieran, all jokes aside, to dip in.
Yeah,
because there's an awful lot in there from different people.
I was saying to Pat McGarrett after we spoke last week, and he was saying he was happy with the interview, but he also said, look, it's there now in the cloud for his family to listen to, and it's always there, Right,
okay. Well, Pat did not listen to him for a long time yet, straight from the horse's mouth, but I take his point. Yeah. There's something important about archiving this stuff. All right, listen, Kieran, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Greg.
Really appreciate it. Okay, that's Kieran O'Donnell there. We'll be back with more of your comments and a wrap up of the show today after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
So how's your constipation these days, Patsy?
Oh, I've been taking fibre gel. It's full of fibre, which naturally relieves constipation and helps maintain regularity.
Fabulous. My constipation is much more mild, so I take the chewable tablets from fibre gel. Super convenient. Just pop it in your mouth to make number 2 a little less of a to-do.
Mum, Patsy, I am never coming to tea with you again.
Fibergel high fibre orange granules contains this. Pagula husk, always read the label. Fibergel Fibre Chews is a medical device, always read the instructions.
If you've got magic moments or great memories captured on your smartphone, now is a great time to have them printed at mcgees.ie. Simply upload your favourite photos, choose your size and finish, and McGee's will take care of the rest, with the results delivered to your door. Prices are from just 12 cents, and there's also creative options available. Preserve your memories today at mcgees.ie.
With inflation rising, we're all feeling the squeeze. But An Post Money can help you take the power back. Start today with our free Money Manager tool for current account holders, helping you track your income and spending, set and stick to budgets, and much more. Ready to take the power back? Visit onpost.com/money manager. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Are you thinking of changing or upgrading your current car? Why not think Seat? Trade up your Seat SUV and you will be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan from just $9.99 per month. Choose from the bold Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seat Tarraco. We're all ready. Are you? Trade up your 222 Seat SUV at DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. For more information, visit dmgmotors.ie. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland. Trading as Seat Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria, terms and conditions apply.
Okay, you're welcome back to the last part of the programme, and I wanted to dedicate the last few minutes to read some of your comments. I might read this one again early tomorrow because it's an interesting one. But this listener says, my daughter's Leaving Cert Spanish listening tape was defective. The tape was breaking up. Did anyone else have a problem with this? My daughter was very upset about it. It's worth 40% of the exams to her, and her peers could not hear the tape properly. So that's a technical issue there. The Spanish tape for this listener's family breaking up. Thanks for discussing home birthing on the programme today. It's our pleasure. We hope to touch on most things over the course of time. This caller's feeling angry. Donegal County Council is closed at Ahilly today. Not a word or notice to say this would be happening. A simple sign the day before to road users would be appreciated, says that listener. Hi Greg, surely as fans are not now 100% included, no work can begin on dwellings until this is clarified. That's what my take on it was. This sounds to me like a shelved scheme till 2023 at least. But anyway, I don't want to add to any fears or concerns, but I can only look at it logically. Why I wouldn't toss my house and build on my own fans now if I knew that maybe in mid-2023 if I were to start then, they would also change the foundations. This caller goes on to say, though, what were the NSA doing when MAG were begging the government to follow the science 23 years ago? This is just another can kicking down the road exercise. I don't know what to say about Charlie. This is soul destroying. Greg, I think the government could save millions of euro by letting the people do the work to their own houses. There's a lot of men out there that can do block work and a lot of men that could do roofing and joinery work, so why not let them do it? I did hear a slight remark from a government minister in the past that suggested us building our homes was part of the problem. Now, we know that's not the case. That was dispelled, but that's the attitude. You have to understand what's also going on in the back of their heads as well, not just what comes out of their mouths. If it's the case that if you're taking legal action, you can't apply for the grant, is it the case? Charlie McConalogue said no, that's not the case. Right, we're going to come back to more of those comments tomorrow because, of course, very important and insightful too, because you're giving us your insights into things. But that is where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thanks to Caroline Orr and Donna Marie who worked on the programme. As I mentioned, we're back tomorrow at 9. John Breslin's coming up around the northwest at just after the news at 12, which we can get now from Emma Ryan and say, good afternoon, Emma.
Good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. I'm Emma Ryan. Minister Charlie McConalogue says it will be early next year before the inclusion of foundations in the Enhanced Maker Redress scheme is confirmed. He says houses are not required to be built on existing foundations of a property, but rather the footprint. A Donegal Garda says Gardaí are not able to do their jobs without proper access to a Garda car. This week, it emerged that the patrol car in Fulcara has now reached end of life with no current plan to replace it. President of the Garda Representative Association, Garda Brendan O'Connor, says he has raised the issue several times, but it seems to be a fleet management issue. A special meeting of Donegal County Council is to be held on Monday. Cahirla Councillor Jack Murray has requested the meeting to discuss the interagency response in Donegal to the Ukrainian crisis. The number of children in care in Donegal has slightly decreased from a peak at the end of last year. 226 children were in care in the county at the end of last year. That is down to 218 according to latest figures. Investigations are underway into a large fire in the waterside area of Derry last night. The blaze at the site of a number of unfinished homes at Dunfield Terrace was reported at around 8:10 p.m. Inspector Swanson says there are no reports of any injuries. However, if not for the work of the fire service, the outcome could have been different for residents in the immediate area and their homes. And finally, all passengers travelling from Donegal Airport on the twice daily service to Dublin can now use the Flight Connections corridor at Dublin Airport. Self-connecting passengers travelling with cabin baggage only who hold a valid boarding card for any onwards flight on the same day can now use the Flight Connections corridor to get to their next departure gate without the need to clear immigration and security screening. That's all for now. We'll be back with news in full at 1 p.m.
If you are 65 or over, or you have a weak immune system, you can now get your second COVID-19 booster vaccine. Your vaccine is due 4 months after your last vaccine. It will improve your protection from COVID-19. You can book a vaccination centre appointment on hsc.ie or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. For more information on your second booster or to book an appointment, visit hsc.ie or call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE for us all.
The best music on your station.
Welcome along to the show this Wednesday afternoon. It's John Breslin until 2:30, starting today with Lindsay Buckingham.